morning, everybody, and welcome to another Star Wars Toy Talk and Live chat. Probably all a little bit ropey. Well, at least myself and Dan are probably a little bit ropey after last night's marathon of a Black Series sequel wishlist stream, which turned into just a general chit chat about all things Celebration. We did run a little bit over time, but it was all good. It was a good chat, so I do encourage you to go and check it out if you haven't done so already. We are, of course, here today to talk about all things Power of the Force 2. 2025 is obviously celebrates 30 years of Power of the Force 2, and for a lot of us, Power of the Force 2 is sort of where our Star Wars journeys began. And as such, I am, of course, joined once again by Dan, and we also have with us the Power of the Force is with Jesse. How you doing, mate? You all right?
Guys? I'm doing well. Yeah. Obviously, you wore James out too much. I had to come in and take over from him.
Well, do you know what? It's the generational gap as well. James doesn't have the same sort of nostalgia that we have for this line and what have you. So I think I needed to get you on this one, Jesse, purely to hold you accountable, because during lockdown and when you started your Power of the Force Friday YouTube series, you're pretty much solely responsible for reigniting my love of this line. So yeah, it's kind of your fault. So I've brought you here to hold you accountable and to put you on trial, mate. So
that's all right. I declare myself guilty. It's fine.
But no, like I said, we're here because we're all products of the 90s. We're 90s kids, and Power of the Force 2 for us is our vintage. It's what started us on this journey and this collecting path. And it's the line itself, for me at least, is solely responsible for my everlasting love of Star Wars, and it was my gateway drug really to a galaxy far, far away. So one of the things I just want to touch on before we dive into some of the specifics of today's stream is just some of your guys' personal memories and stories and, connections to Power of the Force 2 and why it means so much to you, because it clearly does, because you've set aside a series on your YouTube channel, Jesse, for it. And now myself and Dan have followed in your footsteps and dedicated an entire section of our collections to the line. So what is it about Power of the Force 2 that not only you love so much, but that drew you back in and was like, actually, yeah, I've got to go back all in on this line. I need it again.
It is purely, for my part, nostalgia. It's. I still remember the first movie I saw was Empire Strikes Back, and it would have been around 95. So I was 7 years old. 30 years ago, I'm 37 now. So I've taken plenty of ibuprofen before the stream, so I'm not feeling sore. Purely nostalgia. I remember my first two figures that I ever got were probably for my birthday or Christmas that year. It was Chewbacca and Darth Vader, and that was pretty much what started it. And I've still got a handful of figures that I've kept from when I was a kid. I did have a lot of collection toys stolen from quote unquote friends back in the day, but yeah, it's probably only the last sort of 4, 5, 6 years, I suppose, that I've really sort of gone, you know what, I'm just going to sort of, as a little side quest in my collecting, is just chip away at these toys that I dreamed of as a kid. I even have here, this is something that I put together when I was a kid, is I used to cut all the pictures out of the card backs and stuck them all together. Even as a kid, I would just sit here and just look at them. Some of them I've even circled. I'm actually in the process of trying to replicate this in something a more complete way. But I'm even like looking at it now, trying to match up weapons for loose figures that I've got. But
that's so cool. I love those cards as well.
I'm carrying this thing around since I was probably 8 years old.
That's awesome.
And then, I started adding like Phantom Menace and Power of the Jedi back. It's just my little card that I always keep on display with my Power of the Force stuff. So
yeah, that's amazing. I love that because I think that's one of the things for me that's so bittersweet about the line is the fact that I parted ways with so much of it. Purely because I went through that phase. I think, like every collector who dived into Power of the Force back in the 90s, once the line started to improve and screen accuracy became a thing and proportions got better and you got definitive versions of all these different characters, I was one of those collectors that was like, okay, I don't need my Power of the Force versions anymore. Sell those on, move them on.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where I look back and I think, why did I do that? Because I'm collecting it all now and it's costing me twice as much as it did when I picked them all up the first time, and it's really annoying. But I'm not doing a bad job of putting the collection back together, and I'm at a place now, I think, where it's not complete by any stretch, but it's as complete as I would like it to be. But just on that subject, I mean, Dan, we'll get to your memories of the line in just a sec. But while it's fresh in the memory, and we're talking about rebuilding that collection, let's just throw it very quickly because I think we do have a few between us. Let's throw it as always to recent pickups. So as Dan and I alluded to last night on our sequel trilogy wishlist stream, we did a little bit of a spend yesterday. Dan showcased his Power of the Force 2 buys on that stream, so head over there and check that out if you want to. But I saved mine for today just to keep it on theme and on brand. So one of the recent pickups I made is a Grail piece for me. Because this is something that I remember looking through the action figure archive book by Steve Sansweet that came out back in the day, and looking at this and thinking, God, I'd love to own that. And the play sets from Power of the Force 2 have always been a big sort of, I need those. I need to have them in the collection, and I love the standard of play sets that Kenner were putting out in the 90s were just absolutely superb. The quality was amazing. The playability was there, and I think some of them hold up even by today's standards. And Vintage Collection be damned, I skipped that one and went straight to this one. So I recently acquired the Power of the Force Endor Bunker, and I couldn't be happier because this thing comes with flying boulders, it comes with swinging branches, and it's just a pure joy-filled set. It's something I never owned when I was a kid, but always wanted, and now to have it in the collection is just so cool. And it is one of those play sets as well that goes for a decent bit of money these days on the secondary market. So I got a really good price on this one on eBay, brand new in box, unopened, and yeah, just couldn't be happier with it, to be honest. It's such a stellar piece. The only issue with it is that it really makes me want to go now and add the Hoth Battle set to my collection, which is another spenny little number. But yes, we'll keep an eye out for that one. Another eBay find I made. This is something like we were talking about at the start of the stream. I let go of a lot of my Power of the Force 2 stuff back in the day, but I'm going back and rebuying stuff. And this is something I had when I was a kid, parted ways with, and now have again, and I'm so glad. And it's the Jabba the Hutt with Han Solo, based on how Jabba appears in the special editions, which just looks ridiculous to me. It doesn't even look like Jabba, but I'm here for it. And I got this for less than the price of a standard vintage collection figure goes for these days.
That's a win.
So that is an absolute win. Just under a tenner I paid for this one. Not quite as cheap as the old price tag on the back indicates, but nonetheless. But yeah, so cool. So happy to have this back in the collection. And bizarre that this was the only Jabba for, I think, maybe 8 or 9 years before the Saga collection one came about.
Yeah.
In sort of 2003, 2004. So yeah, just a really cool piece to have. And then while Dan and I were out on a jaunt yesterday. I picked up a replacement because this is one that I've still got, but the one that I have is a little bit yellowed and a little bit discoloured. So I went and picked up a replacement for the Spirit of Obi-Wan mail away exclusive. But this one came in the special edition box, which I've never had. So cool. This is a really cool little piece to add to that shelf as well, which you'll see in just a bit. But yeah, made a couple of really cool purchases, and I also, where's he gone? Also made a loose purchase, which is something I very rarely do. But I also picked up the Sand Trooper from the 3D Cantina playset, which is a really cool figure. Comes with a little sentry droid on his back there that plugs in via a translucent rod. And so that's a really cool little addition as well. So yeah, happy with those. Dan, have you got any pickups to share, or did you share them all yesterday?
Well, I pretty much shared them all yesterday, but we can go through them again. Just a quick one. So we got BL Dash Rendar for no particular reason. His card's a little bit dinged, but it's rare you find one with the actual sticker. I find, and especially in that purple bubble, like purple card rather. So I got him purely to keep carded, and he just looks really cool. I just love that. Again, kind of showing how versatile the Power of the Force collection was, just because it expanded all the way from original trilogy to expanded universe, and then slightly just put a tip in with episode 1 and the prequels later on down the line, obviously. But and then I also got this, which is the Cantina free pack with Labria, Nabrun, Leeds, and Tequil. If I am completely butchering them names,
I thought it was Jeff, John, and Stewart.
It's Jeff, John, and Stewart. It is Jeff, John, and Stewart, but covert mission in the Cantina. So I'm really pleased with that. I got it for a really good deal. Again, shout out to Toys and Train Sheffield. Do me the deals. Great stuff.
Nice. Happy days. What about you, Jesse? Anything recent to showcase?
Yeah, just to show that in hand, the last couple of my Power of the Force Friday episodes have been on the Space Trooper from the Expanded Universe. So I did a little bit of an unboxing and looking at his packaging. Yeah, really cool. I've only ever had the Legacy version. So that's a cool one. And the Imperial Sentinel.
Yes.
Love that one.
Yeah. It's got the light piping in the top, so you can shine the torch through the top of his head and his eyes light up. And I could be tempted to grab a second one of these at some stage too. But I did have some purchases planned for this live stream with some deluxe editions. I did order the Boba Fett, the Han Solo, the Luke, and an AT-ST driver. But the eBay seller couldn't find one of the items, so it took him a bit over a week to actually send it out. So I haven't yet received them. So,
oh man,
it's all good. It's all good. They're in the mail.
Yep, that's it. They're on the way. Cool stuff. So just on that, I mean, the main premise of this stream originally was to be a bit of a deluxe figure focus, because between the three of us, we've completed the deluxe line. And so each of us later on in the stream are going to tackle the deluxe figures and give each figure from the line a bit of a review. We'll get to that shortly. Dan, just to go back to you, mate, about your personal ties to Power of the Force 2. What is it about the line that you love so much, mate?
So mine's kind of weird. It's a bit of kind of like, I don't want to say lost childhood, really. It's literally me looking back. Because I wasn't really a big Star Wars fan initially, because I'm a product from 1994. And obviously I was probably a little bit young to even remember seeing some of the Power of the Force figures on shelves, at least when they were initially released. So I became a fan probably just during episode 2. More so episode 3, because that's when I started buying the Lego sets, actually really getting invested after that with the figures. But I always remember being at a young age, seeing the Phantom Menace figures on shelves. There was always a market stall in Skeg, back in my own town, Skeg, Vegas. And there was always, you would always see these green boxed Power of the Force figures on them really metal girded kind of
like pinboard
racks.
sort of thing.
Like proper market store, because we only really had Woolworths. I had no Toys R Us particularly near me, so when I went to a Toys R Us it was like a big deal. But at an early age I remember seeing market stores with, you know, Power of the Force figures with some odds and sods of Episode 1 figures that people couldn't get rid of. And I was always intrigued by these big muscular characters, because I'd seen, obviously I was aware about Star Wars, I'd seen the characters from Star Wars, you can see them on the packaging, you know, with actual pictures from the film, but seeing these big muscular men, like, it was like, something really intrigued me about it. And it's only until later on, obviously, I got into Star Wars collecting through, you know, Revenge of the Sith, buying the Lego, and then getting into the figures through 30th anniversary. And I used to go to car boot sales, flea market sales, and I picked up this book, which was the 2005 action figure price guide, and it had just a wealth of knowledge on action figures, so I used to pour through that thing religiously. Looking at the vintage collection figures, like the proper Kenner vintage, and then seeing the Power of the Force stuff was just... And I always used to see that stuff at car boot sales. So, jump to now, and Steve's kind of pushed me down this rabbit hole because of his eclectic Power of the Force buying. There we go.
I can't even point. What's going on? Why ain't that working? It was his fault.
So it's kind of gone down. You know, a chain of blame. But yeah, I mean, Power of the Force, I always loved, like I said, the whole muscular look. And then really getting into the line, it's impressive to see how quickly Kenner and Hasbro developed their figures over that time period. Especially now that I've been picking them up, some of the innovative ideas that they've done is just amazing. Like the enhancements in, obviously going from looking like He-Man figures, because that's what at the time the trend was, figures were looking very He-Man like, to then going a bit more realistic was always interesting. Obviously they did put in a bit of reuse, so you've got, if I just do a case in point, you've got this very nice slender looking Leia, but then she's got a massive Power of the Force 2 blaster, massive hand cannon. So I always find that really interesting. I think that's one of the main draws to this line, because it was so weird and wonderful. It was just an eclectic sort of characters.
It's really sort of the first line that really dived into the, for lack of a better term, gulp shitters and the background characters, and it was literally that line that was, you know, you could tell that the thought process was there on the part of Kenner, that was, okay, we did these figures in the original run of vintage figures back in the 80s and in the 70s. There are these characters that we didn't do that people really wanted, but we never got around to, so we're going to do them now. And then it was such a, you know, to your point, Dan, about how the figures were on trend because they were so muscular and they were buff and they were action orientated. I don't think the Power of the Force 2 gets enough love for being a collector focused line, because some of the characters that they put out in it were just such deep cuts, and I think it just doesn't get enough love for that. I mean, for example, if we just go to this little throwback, the Power of the Force A to Z poster, like some of the figures on there, Ishii Tib, Poot Snitkin, you know,
it's like you want some weird aliens, you've got them. If you want a figure of a lady with a stick, here's a Mon Mothma.
That's it. Yeah, all the weird and wonderful characters were there, and to their credit, they did such an amazing job with some of those sculpts back in the day. Like you were saying, Dan, like the progression that you see throughout that line, and I think that you see as well as we have, where we're going back and we're rebuilding that collection, and you see that evolution, you see that progression. Like the sculpt started off as quite primitive, very, simple, but buff and muscular and not quite screen accurate. And then as you get to sort of 1998, 1999, that accuracy comes into play. The sculpts get fantastic. It's just such a, like you said, an innovative and incredible line. And like I said, I just don't think it gets enough love. I think it does now. I think the love is coming back for it. But yeah, it's incredible. It really is. It's just such an amazing collection of figures. And with that in mind, I mean, I'm gonna shake the running order of things up a little bit, because we were going to dive into the Power of the Force 2 Deluxe line first. But just while we're on the subject of character selection and incredible sculpts and all that sort of stuff, I'm really keen to get your guys' top 5 Power of the Force 2 figures. Let's dive into that.
Yeah.
And take a look at some of your favourite figures from the line. So, Jesse, mate, do you want to go first with your number 5 pick?
Number 4. Oh, we're picking orders. Okay, I literally just picked 5. I'm going to start with the honorable mention, and that is Unproduced, because 2025 Hasbro wouldn't do a figure of a lady in a denim jacket with a jug of milk. It's blue milk, but they just wouldn't do it. I dare them to do a new one. I would like to see a new one, but
yeah, it's just not something they do.
Yeah, she's almost got the she's almost got the little Italian that come on
Luke, come on get your blue milk.
So yeah, honorable mention. For my 5th, I kind of went with a little bit of an idea. I went with nostalgia, but also it ended up sort of being one from each film and one from the expanded universe, and then an extra one. And the extra one I went with is the TIE Pilot.
Yeah,
I've just always had a affinity for the TIE Pilot armor and outfit. I like the helmet, and this dude's just packing some absolute heat. Like seriously, it's almost as tall as him.
Don't even think he'd be able to fit that in his TIE fighter, either.
Give us TIE Fighter John Wick movie. He's just got these two just absolute weapons.
But I think that's one of those good examples that we were talking about of where that was an earlier figure in the line, but the detail and the likeness to the actual TIE Pilot is really good on that one, and that to this day it still holds up as one of my favourite versions of the TIE Pilot. There's something about it that's just, the troopers in Power of the Force 2 were top tier. It's got to be said, and that's definitely one of them. So the different levels of paint that you've got going on as well, like you've got the gloss finish on the helmet and the chest piece and stuff, and then the matte uniform. It's
in the silver Imperial cog there, which is nice.
Yeah, it's really cool. I like that one a lot.
Yeah. So that was my number 5.
Nice. What about you, Dan? Which figure comes in at number 5 for you?
So if I just whab in my little honourable mention first, which might come as a shock for some because of how good it is, but again, this is a testament to how difficult it was to round it up to 5. For this one to be a runner-up, it had to be the Sentinel, because he's just such a cool design. It was a character from the expanded universe, and indeed I think concept art as well, wasn't it? An original idea for what was going to be in the original Kenner line.
Yeah,
and
I think what it started life as it was a way of Kenner continuing the Star Wars action figure line after, and it was actually Kenner that was coming up with this backstory for the Clone Wars and this whole story involving, I think, is it Aether Prime that this figure started off life as?
Something like that, yeah.
And he was going to be this villain in this new story, and there's a little bit of it when you think about it, when you read into the history of what Kenner were planning to do. It's a little bit of a precursor to Shadows of the Empire, in the sense that it was this
Yeah.
this media project, this fiction, sort of all fictional, obviously, but it's this Kenner creation of stories and action figures to keep the Star Wars line going post 1983. Obviously, that never came to fruition, but like you said, Dan, it's really cool to see that come to life in the expanded universe. I think it was part of the Throne trilogy, wasn't it, or the Dark Empire, Dark Empire saga. Yeah,
and then now it's come full circle because he's actually been featured in new canon. So
yeah,
you know, gotta give a bit of love to him. So we got that, and then we've also got for number 5. This is again really difficult. I had to pick, and this is a later one in the line. Again, showing the progression, but
yeah,
Sebastian Shaw Anakin has to be the one. I know I could have maybe put him at 1, but again, so many other great figures, so many great sculpts. But the fact that we've never had a Sebastian Shaw Anakin since this, if I'm not mistaken.
No, that's it.
You know, that's it. That's your lot.
I was that close to including this one myself.
But he is just so cool. And I love the flashback card, if I actually have it to hand. I do. It's luckily at the very top. But you got these little flashback cards with these particular figures because it was all to hype up episode 1, which I loved. I loved that idea of the cross promotion. And yes, it's a bit of a spoiler, but I mean, at least if you got the Vader one, if we show that as an example, biggest spoiler. Oh, there we go. You know it. Oh, I really did love that idea, and that's why Anakin boy is in number 5.
He's one we touched on in the side quest stream we did a couple of years ago when we touched a little bit more briefly on the Power of the Force 2. And it's one of those figures that it's weird because in a weird sense, it's one of the first prequel figures before we actually had the prequels, because that wasn't Anakin as a Force ghost, that was Anakin as he would have appeared as a Jedi Knight in his prime. And it's just for me, it was such a weird choice because it's like, okay, you're giving us that figure of him as he was as a living man, not as a spooky ghost. And it's like, it's just such a weird figure. It's just such a weird figure. And that's what I love about it.
You're standing with the sneak preview Mace Windu, and it's kind of like, oh, okay, now we're starting to build up on what's coming, like with the Phantom Menace in episode 1. And it's a good way to just let your imagination run wild a little bit. Like I found that with the old Power of the Force, the vintage, the Kenner Anakin from 83, 84. And my auntie had that one just sitting on a shelf, and I was just completely mind blown. Like they just set off all sorts of, my imagination just went wild before the prequels came out. So
yeah, it's a cool one. It's really, really cool. But yeah, speaking of weird figures, my honourable mention before we get to number 5 comes in, and it's Garrindon.
Yes.
Purely because it's just such a cool design. It's one of those figures like we were talking about at the start of the stream that didn't get a vintage figure back in 78, and to see it come to life in Power of the Force 2 must have been really cool for the collectors of that original Kenner line, in the same way that, you know, the Rebel Fleet Trooper and Tarkin, it's just one of those characters that you saw on screen in the movie but never got a figure of during the original run. And it's a really cool figure, to be fair. I love the blaster. The head sculpt's really cool. The cloak looks great. He's got the little comlink sculpted into his hand. And it's just a testament to, like I said, some of those weird character choices that Power of the Force introduced. And to that, to further that point, at number 5 for me is a figure that I really hope, with the whole return to Tatooine and the Mos Eisley Cantina HasLab, that we get a redo of. It is Wolfman himself, Mr. Lak Sivarak, And again, you want to talk about weapons and weird stuff. Like, look at it. This is what I love about Power of the Force 2. The weapons that they included with some of these figures. He comes with a blaster pistol, but then he comes with this forearm gauntlet dagger blaster thing. And it's just so egregious, so ridiculous. But I just love the way this figure's sculpted. You know, he's got the crooked legs there. The detail in this one is really good, to be fair. Like, that head sculpt is fantastic. The outfit's really cool. Taking a bit of creative license with a character that we see briefly on screen. And yeah, it's a really, really cool figure, and one that I really love. And like I said, I hope that we get a redo of at some point, because that's another thing with Power of the Force 2 is that there's so many characters and so many figures that we haven't seen since Power of the Force 2.
Yeah.
So let's get them back into circulation, and let's see an updated Laxiv rack. Please and thank you, Brandon, if you're watching again. So there we go. That's my number 5. Jesse, your number 4 pick, sir?
Yeah, number 4. Number 4 goes to Mr. Admiral Akbar.
Yeah.
Much like the original Kenner figure, like I sold off most of my Kenner stuff, my vintage Kenner stuff a year or two ago. Because let's face it, this is my vintage. And he's just a cool looking figure. It's just, you know, I can't describe it. I still want to know how he gets his arms through those sleeves. It's just, that's something I think I used to stare at this thing when I was a kid and be like, how did he put his jumper on? Or how did he put his shirt on? Like, he's got a... Again, when it comes to just crazy weapons, you know, he's got this sort of sleeve, multi-faceted just weapon of mass destruction underwater. It's like so he knows when things are traps, and he knows how to spring those traps.
He'll take that trap and raise you a bigger one. There's always a bigger fish.
Look around he does have some big traps. If you look around his shoulder area, those muscles are just
absolutely.
And yeah, I've loved every Admiral Akbar figure since. It's just, I don't know. There's something about it's the whimsy of Star Wars, and we're talking about the diverse range of Power of the Force and the aliens and all that. And yeah, I think he just sort of hits the nail on the head with that one. Mm-hmm. I think the head sculpt still it holds up well today. The paint applications, you know, it still holds up quite nicely.
Yeah, it is. It's a really that's one of the things that I love about Power of the Force 2 is that despite all their shortcomings, the sculpted detail in these figures is just absolutely fantastic. It's so intricately done, and
the whimsical side again. You know, he's got these big flipper hands, but then he's just wearing some like standard size 10 boots that he picked up from Spenless shoes.
Love it.
So yeah, Admiral Akbar comes in at number 4 for me.
Superb. Dan, your number 4, mate. Which one comes in?
Okay. Who are we gonna have for number 4? Right. So this one has a bit of a story to it.
We're here for it.
I've gone for Bomar Monk. So what I've tried to do with my choices is pick something from the later line, which was Anakin, an exclusive, because this was a mail-away exclusive, and then we'll get into the others as we get into them. But this one was one I almost walked away from like an absolute idiot, because I was out thrift shopping with my buddies, and I saw this in the cabinet, and it was in the box. I've still got the box for it, in the packet, loose, and it had a price tag of about 34 quid. And I was like, oh, cool, that's a Bomar Monk. Oh, there's a Luke Stormtrooper in disguise. There's this, that, and the other. Kind of overlooked it completely, even though I'm like doing a Power of the Force focus. And I kind of walked away from it because I thought, oh, that's a bit spenny. But as I was walking away, I Googled it, had a look on eBay. I was like, what am I doing? Why am I walking away from that? So I literally went to the person who owned the store, or manager or whatever. Just, can you open that cabinet and can I just get this out there? They're like, yeah, cool. All complete, all fine. It came with the instructions as well. And yeah, this was the one that I almost slipped up and passed up on and got away. And it would have been tragic if I'd done that, because I'd be kicking myself. So I'm really pleased I picked this one up. It's just such a cool looking figure as well. Really big, really, really big. The Bomar monks are a bit of a blink and you'll miss it kind of feature in Return of the Jedi. But it's that much of a good figure that the fact that Hasbro then re-released it in the blue packaging Saga Attack of the Clones line.
Yeah.
In that big pack, except the version that I've got is the blue jelly domed version, whereas the other one's the more accurate red one. But I love this guy. It goes together really nicely when you assemble it. You've got ball joints for the actual legs, so you can really pose them. This weird little arm thing. Just such a cool figure. And the Bomar monk is such a weird character as well if you actually read it in canon. Like the fact that these monks that were living beings that then put their brains in jars and became spiders. Just such a cool
Fortuna
thing.
did that in the old EU, didn't he? Like Bib Fortuna became Bomar monk.
Yeah, I believe he did. But yeah, just such a cool figure.
In that sense as well, like perfect candidate for a Power of the Force figure as well, just because it's so fucking weird.
Absolutely. So I'm
re-release it, Hasbro.
Yeah,
Just slap that one on a new card.
Absolutely. I'd take it. I mean, if you'd have left it behind, Dan, it wouldn't have been too tragic because I'd have picked it up instead. So, not a major issue, but
no.
Yeah. You bugger. My number 4 is it was a tough choice because there's a lot of Power of the Force 2 figures for me that are really sentimental. And that have their own stories to them. So with my picks, I've just gone for pure. I've gone from a sculpt standpoint for the most part, and fun factor and all that sort of stuff. If you want to take a deeper dive into some of the more sentimental stories about some of the figures that I've got in my Power of the Force 2 collection, I do implore you to go and check out the side quest stream we did a couple of years ago. We go into a lot of detail there about what some of these figures mean to me on a personal level. One of those was figuring Dan, the Cantina band member, Kyle Katarn, of course, from Jedi Knight and Dark Forces. But just for the sake of keeping it fresh and, like I said, approaching these picks a little bit differently, my number 4 comes in, and it is Luke Skywalker from Dark Empire. And this is just such a cool and unique figure. And it encapsulates everything that I love about Power of the Force 2. Because these are the sorts of things that I imagine as a Kenner collector in the 70s and 80s, you never thought you were going to see. You never thought you were going to see figures based on characters from comic books or video games or the expanded universe. And I love that Hasbro and Kenner at the time went so hard on the Power of the Force on the expanded universe. Shadows of the Empire, like I said, Dark Empire, the video games, the comic books. I could have picked Mara Jade, I could have picked the Dark Trooper, but for me it's just this figure. Dark Side Luke is just such a cool choice for an action figure, and I think this is a really good one in the sense that I love the outfit. It's so cheesy in that it's got this big Dracula collar. It's obviously taking the inspiration there from the Clone Emperor costume. You've got the new likeness on Luke as well, which is something that we mentioned yesterday, Dan, while we were out toy hunting, that I love the fact that Kenner used to advertise new likenesses as a selling point for their figures.
Yeah.
When you got a new sculpt, because that's one of the things that I actually quite liked about it. It was added to the charm that when you got figures of the same characters, so for every hand figure that was released, for every Luke, they all shared the same head sculpt, which I loved because the likenesses were all consistent. But then as the line progressed and got better, they tackled new likenesses, and Luke in this instance is really, really cool. I mean, he's got the wispy hair, all the blues and the different colours in the costume are really nice. The blaster's pretty sick. It's just a cool left field choice for an action figure, and like I said, it's just one of those that I imagine as an OG, you probably thought you'd never see, and to actually have this in plastic on a shelf is just really, really cool. And as we'll see in a bit as well, the packaging for these expanded universe figures were innovative, and that's again just one of the things I love so much about this line of figures is just the creativity that went into it. That's my number 4, Dark Empire Luke.
I love the comic book colours on that one as well. It's a real sort of...
it's like cell shading.
Yeah. It's the fact that Hasbro then kind of carried that across with the comic packs later on. I love that.
Yeah, it's such a quality figure. I mean, I could have really cheated and just picked the entire expanded universe wave as one of my picks, because there's not a bad figure in it. You've got Thrawn, you've got the Dark Trooper, which is just the biggest, chunkiest, most egregious thing on that shelf. I mean, you talk about figures looking buff. Whew, he's a buff boy. He's a piece of meat, is that fella. But yeah, it's just such a cool line. Like I said, Mara Jade in there. It delivered fan favourites as well, which is just really cool. So, yeah, Dark Empire Luke is my number 4.
I like it.
Jesse, your number 3 pick, please, sir.
Yeah, well, this one is sort of, very topical for the time period, given some of the recent Black Series releases and announcements. Prince Shizor, this is the single-carded version that comes with the big blue fans. The Black Series Shizor is, that's pretty much peak Black Series as far as I'm concerned, along with the new Savage Press as well. But yeah, so these have certainly taken a little bit more of a highlight. Just looking at my collection as a whole at the moment, like my Power of the Force collection, and some of these Shadows of the Empire figures have really jumped out. I do have the other Shizor that come with the staff. He was the 2-pack with Vader. I don't have the Vader, but yeah, it's just that weird and wonderful, that period of time from 1996 with Shadows of the Empire. Some great memories there, playing the game on the Nintendo 64 and getting a couple of the figures. I didn't have many of them until, I'm an adult. So, but
I just always, when it comes to Power of the Force 2, I always think of that line from Step Brothers. Holy Santa Claus shit. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if we had these when we were 12? Even better. We got them when we're 40.
Just the sculpt in the outfit looks like a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah,
it's just
so cool.
It's just almost like really gaudy, like it's almost a little bit too flamboyant. But I guess that's kind of Shizor to a point. Still don't know what the big band thing is, but
I think if I remember rightly, it's some sort of energy shield. It was to deflect blasters or lightsabers or something. I don't know if it's anything we ever. I don't know if it's anything we ever actually saw in the comics or in the games, to be honest, because I know, going back to what you were saying about that Shizor that was released with the staff, and he came in the comic pack with Vader. Vader and Shizor never actually interact in the comics or the game. They never meet face to face. So that was a really interesting choice for a 2-pack back in the day. And I came very close to picking Shizor because I've got a lot of love for this character, because that 2-pack with Vader was my very, very first Star Wars figure.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
And I'd never played the game at that point. I'd never seen the Star Wars films when I bought those figures. So for the longest time, Shizor was Luke Skywalker once I did see the films, before I actually had a Luke Skywalker figure. So But yeah, no, absolutely top tier figure.
Yeah, big fan.
And the sculpt underneath that robe as well is not to be overlooked either. Like I said, it's that sort of first foray into the expanded universe.
Yeah. No, it's a bit tight. I was going to try and pull the front robe off, but yeah, I won't. I will ruin it. I will destroy it.
Good choice.
But
Dan, who's your number 3?
Okay, so keeping on theme with a bit of expanded universe, and I think Steve's kind of alluded to this one just shortly earlier. I had to pick this one because he's a chunky boy and absolutely terrifying in the game, and Hasbro captured him amazingly. This is the Dark Trooper, and it's just such an amazing figure, particularly with the packaging that opens up, which is in the style of the video game, as if it's in the perspective of Dark Forces 1.
Mm-hmm.
And just the whole design on this thing is incredible. I love the helmet. There's just something very alien, very not typical Empire about it, but still kind of that element there. His massive jetpack with the little thrusters that do move. You've got the big bulky shoulder pads. His ridiculously oversized gun. I love this figure so much. So much so that I got a version to keep carded, and also I got the 2005 version loose because I wanted that for something you might see later. Oh, what a boy. What a boy. And again, it's hard to pick one from that expanded universe line of figures that they did.
Yeah.
Because they're all so good. But for me, size-wise and just being a real presence on shelf, this is the one. That's why he's my number 3
one, man. That's a really good one.
Yeah. I came very, very close to picking this one myself for my number 1, just because it was one of the basic figures that was always eluded me when I was a kid, and even as an adult has always been one of the more pricey figures to pick up again. But I think I fell on this one just at the right time and managed to get it at a decent price. And when I did, it was one of those like full circle moments for me as a collector. Because it's like I finally got one of these figures that I've been after for so long, and it's just so cool. It's almost got this mech feel to it as well. It's just so. I mean, if that came out today, that'd be a deluxe.
It's just badass.
I still don't have that one, but it's on my eBay watch list. I might have to make the jump to the cart this week.
Do it.
I'm gonna do it right now.
Look at him. Just look at him.
So good. My number 3 is a little bit of a cheat pick. But it's like I said, I'm approaching this from a playability, fun factor, sculpt as well. But when you talk about buff and ripped and Power of the Force 2, when I close my eyes, this is the Chad that I think of. And this is a bit of a cheat pick because I'm picking 2 figures in one pick. Because to me, this is one figure. The fact that we got these as separate figures is by the by. But yeah, Dagobah Luke and Yoda with the backpack. It's just this was one of the things when I was going back and rebuilding that Power of the Force 2 collection. This was one of my main objectives because I had these figures when I was a kid, but as I alluded to, I've parted ways with them when superior versions were released later on in the line. But this was one of the main objectives of rebuilding that Power of the Force 2 collection, was getting Luke and Yoda back together again on the shelf. And they just display so well. Like, the backpack is massive. It's absolutely ridiculous. But Yoda fits in there nicely. He looks great on the... And it's just one of those where it's just that feeling of completing a set. That's one of the things for me with this figure, and I just love it. It comes with the blaster, the lightsaber. Yoda comes with his little cane. it's just such a fun little duo, and it really is one of my favourite parts of my Power of the Force 2 collection, just from a visual standpoint, because I just think they look so nice together and complement each other so well. So yeah, like Return of the Jedi says in the comments, Luke had to get this rip to carry that bleeding rucksack about. That's how he got the traps. But yeah, no, absolutely epic figure. And again, this is oddly one that we didn't get in the original Kenner run back in 1980. They did Luke in Bespin fatigues, but they never did Dagobah training Luke. Since then, Stan Solo's done a sort of Kenner inspired version of this. But yeah, it's a figure we didn't. We got Yoda, but we never got Dagobah Luke. So Bespin Luke had to step in as Jedi training Luke for the original run of figures. So to see this in the Power of the Force 2 was really cool. So yeah, that's my number 3. Luke and Yoda from Dagobah. Awesome figures. Jesse, we come to your penultimate pick, which is your number 2.
Just confirm with you guys, I did order the Dark Trooper. I've done it.
Fantastic.
I've done it.
Awesome.
So yeah, this is a big one for me. This is a figure that I've carried since I was 7, 8 years old. It's Pilot Luke. I think he was labelled on the card as X-Wing pilot, but he's technically Snowspeeder pilot. He's got the grey gloves and the grey boots. I just had this dream when I was a kid of having a Luke Skywalker in his rebel outfit without his helmet. I don't know why. I just wanted that look. If I had a little bit of guts about customizing or something back then, which wasn't even on the mind, I may have done something about it. But it wasn't until I was older, finally getting a good Luke Skywalker pilot with the removable helmet. It was a big sort of dream come true. But I don't know, just something about this figure. It's one of those figures that's been with me for a long time. I haven't replaced it. I haven't had to swap it out with a new one. This is the one that I've had since I was 7 or 8 years old.
That's so cool.
And he still holds up, still good condition. There's no sort of scuff paint. That was the thing I loved about the Power of the Force figures is the paint. Just unless you let your dog chew it, like the paint's just stayed on them. Whereas the Kenner ones, they chipped off. But the Power of the Force, the decals on the helmet, like the paintwork on the helmet, it's still just pristine. Like this is almost out of the box new. I don't think I've got the blaster anymore. I'm not even sure if this one came with a lightsaber. Yes, he did. I don't have the blaster for him anymore. But managed to hold on to the lightsaber. So it's the Pilot Luke for me.
Yeah, great pick. Nothing to do with the fact that flight jumpsuit is so skin tight, though, right?
Oh, look at it! Like it's just. Feels like I'm wearing nothing at all. Nothing at all. Nothing at all.
Solid choice, mate.
That's my number 2 pick. It's purely nostalgia.
I'm here for that.
It's not a mind-blowing figure of any stretch, but for me, it's cool.
Love it. Awesome. Dan, your number 2 pick.
So we're cutting it down to a fine wire now. This one was part of the multi-figure packs they started doing called the band members. They each came, 2 figures from Jabba's Palace, band members from Jabba's Palace. And all 3 of those packs are absolutely awesome. Definitely a cost-cutting device for one particular figure who he needs to be in it. Because I always wanted this figure for the longest time, and then I did get him, and it's the Ruble Ball Organ Boy himself, Max Rebo. I adore this figure so much because it's Max Rebo, But the fact that they've actually, put so much effort in the sculpt of him, and then he comes with this massive organ is absolutely incredible. And that's literally where most of the cost, I imagine, for those 3 packs went, because Cy Snootles and Droopy McCool, Cy Snootles and Joe Wowser, rather, didn't really come with any accessories. That was the biggest complaint people had with that. Literally, you had Droopy McCool and the Barquin Dan, is it?
Yeah.
They're pretty basic figures, Reese, And then you've got this guy with a massive Rubal, and I'll just bring out the Rhodian that he comes with.
Dodo Bodonoido.
That's the one.
Try saying that when you've had a few Corellian ales.
Like, really skinny boy, and then you've got this massive, this absolutely dominates the packaging. I love this thing, not just because it's Max Rebo, but the whole Rubal, and then you pull him out, and he's just wearing his little diaper. I gotta make it to the gig, man. Oh, no.
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
I got a gig tonight, man.
Oh, I got a gig tonight, man. He's
Max
just
Rebo and his massive organ.
I love him, and his little diaper.
Brilliant.
And just the texture on him as well, like the lumps and bumps and the weird fingernails that he's got.
This is what I mean.
Really,
Power of the Force 2 just doesn't get enough love from a sculpting standpoint. The detail in some of those figures are just unmatched.
Like if they re-release this, it would still hold up to today's standard. Yeah, the articulation isn't all there, but it doesn't need to be, because he's really just going to be sat in your cantina doing his thing. That's all you really want him to do, and that's why I love this so much.
Interesting if Hasbro were to go and do another Max Rebo, whether they'd go for that sort of Kenner style of Max Rebo, or they'd go the actual puppet, use the puppet as a reference. Because he doesn't actually have legs and a nappy. Like, he's just a bum with arms.
Yeah. His arms are literally his legs, aren't they? It's such a weird design.
You find reference pics from the art of Max Rebo and stuff like that. He's a weird looking alien. He's not sitting in a little hole like that. He's sitting on a cushion.
Yeah. He's quite similar in design to Rappaccini, who's the other organ player.
Kind of suburberish too, sort of.
Yeah, very weird.
The main,
there's a lot of interesting little factoids around that one, Dan. Because like you said about the Cy Snootles and Joe Yowza figures not coming with instruments, there's a website out there which we're going to reference later, actually, because later on in the stream we're going to touch on some unproduced Power of the Force 2 figures. What could have been. For the line, and there's a website out there, prototypearchives.com. Not sure if anybody's familiar with it. And as I was doing a little bit of research and I was looking into some of the stuff that we're going to talk about later on in the show, at one time those figures were actually supposed to come with the instruments, but for whatever reason, I mean, it's unknown to the average Joe Yowza, for whatever reason, Kenner opted not to throw those in with the figures, which is weird because Cy Snootles almost feels incomplete without a microphone.
Yeah.
Hands
literally sculpted to hold it.
They should have come with the instruments, but for whatever reason, they just never made it to fruition, which is a shame. But no, those packs were really, really good. And like you said, Dan, if that were to be released today, it still holds up to the point that they actually did re-release them. Back in 2007 as part of the 30th anniversary collection, and that's when I got mine. But like we were saying earlier, I need to go back and I need to pick duplicates up of these figures and get the actual Power of the Force versions, so I can leave these within my my actual chronological display.
Just touching on those instruments, though, I'm pretty sure it was the first time back in the day where a fan site actually then decide to produce the instruments, so as a third party thing. I've not been able to find them. I've seen a picture of it, but I've never been able to find them on the secondary market. So that's kind of interesting that fans then went out to produce the thing that Hasbro Kenner didn't do. So,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool figure. It's a really, really cool figure. Hope to see an updated Max Rebo band at some point in the future. My number 2 pick is one that it's sentimental because it's one that I drooled over in the action figure archive book. It's one that I always wanted but never got, and it's actually the second Power of the Force release of this character because the first one came with the AT-AT itself, but it is the AT-AT driver, and for the same reasons you mentioned, Jesse, about the TIE Fighter pilot, all those reasons are just why I love the AT-AT driver so much. I love the helmet design. You've got the red cogs on the helmet, the chest apparatus, the blaster rifle. He's a chunky boy. And I always loved about the AT-AT pilots the fact that they were basically, for all intents and purposes, just repurposed TIE pilots, but with a slightly different deco and a slight adjustment to the helmet. And yeah, there's just something about them that I've always loved. The fact that you only see them from the back in the movie has also always sort of stuck with me as well. Like we mentioned during the sequel trilogy wishlist yesterday when I pitched for the Sovereign Protector, the fact that they went to all the effort of making this costume for this character that you don't really see on screen to have this brought to life as an action figure is just really, really cool. And it's a figure, like I said, I always wanted when I was younger but never got. So to have this now is really, really cool. And I love the design. Like you said, Jesse, with these figures, the paint applications are absolutely stellar. And yeah, it's just a really, really cool figure for me. So I'd love one day to own the original Power of the Force 2 AT-AT. That was a grail for me back in the day. But yeah, just a really, really cool figure. And again, going back to what we were saying about accessories, I love the Power of the Force 2 weapons. Those E11s are that's my favourite accessory of all time. It's just such a cool blaster. Absolutely love it. Yeah, it's really, really cool figure. Can't really say much more than that. That's my number 2. AT-AT driver.
So yeah, my number 1.
There we go.
And this goes straight to the very first Star Wars action figure I ever had. Is the mighty Chewbacca.
Yes.
OG.
Yeah, it was the first, would have been my 6th or 7th birthday, I suppose. Chewbacca and Darth Vader. Unfortunately, this isn't the figure from my childhood. That one went missing. I've since replaced it. But yeah, I've still got that sentimental attachment to the figure, the character, so much that I got a Kenner Chewbacca tattooed on my arm.
That's so cool. You need the Power of the Force one on your other arm.
Yeah, I know. But I don't know. There's just something about this one. He spent a lot of time out in the yard, out in the garden, playing in the sandpit. I had a sandpit in the backyard, so he got a lot of playtime out there. Yeah, just a big Chewbacca fan as a kid, still as an adult. And the first sort of major celebrity I met from Star Wars was Peter Mayhew, so that kind of felt full circle. And
look at his thighs.
I know. He's
Quadzilla.
Bloody hell.
But again, he's packing an extra rifle. Just
that's what I loved. That's what I loved about Power of the Force 2 is that you got all these weapons with these figures that were never ever seen on screen, but they just decided to throw them in there just to add that playability to the figures.
Yeah, and it's kind of that. It's almost like that sort of 80s, 90s Batman sort of. You got Scuba Batman, you've got Ice Cave Batman, and they all just came with these wacky, wild accessories. That, not necessarily from the source material, but
yeah, love it.
So that's my numero uno. That's in sentimental reasons. That's the one. That's the ticket.
Awesome. Top pick. Not one I expected, Jesse. I like it.
I like that.
Yeah. What about you, Dan? Number one?
So for me, I think I'm going to have to do a similar thing that Jesse's done because it's from Wave 1. That is the epitome. What am I talking about? Epitome of the power of the Force for me, because it's that buff build. You know, this pinhead. Yeah, the head sculpt's a little bit jank, but he is just. And I mean, I've got the variant with the long lightsaber, which makes it even more ridiculous because he's definitely overcompensating.
Long
And then
distance lightsaber.
So the steroids have been taken. It's having an effect.
And then he's got his little harpoon gun, which... What? Why do you need that?
It's straight off the Hildebrand Brothers poster too, like chest open, just
yeah. It's so basic, but so so basic, but in the best way, and that's why he's my pick. Because when I think of Power of the Force 2, I think of this build. It's either this or the Han. Because the Han is like, you know, proper like... what else do I need to say for that? It had to be number one.
Yeah. No, you're right. When you close your eyes, you say Power of the Force 2, that's the thing that you picture, isn't it? It's that initial set of figures. It's the monkey-faced Leia. It's the buff Luke. It's Chewie. It's Han. It's Chrome 3PO. It's R2D2 with the retractable third leg. It's such a quality line.
So good.
So good. So good. My number one, again, going back to sculpt and detail and just the overall quality of these figures. For me, it's the biggest glup shitter that Hasbro / Kenner have ever released. It's another one of those figures that falls into the category of we haven't seen it since Power of the Force 2. And I think with the return to Tatooine and all that sort of stuff, we need to see it again. It's Poot Snitkin.
Yes.
I can't comprehend pouring this level of detail into a figure that is so briefly seen, if at all, on screen. It's just such an incredible figure. You've got this separate overlay for the tunic. Again, you've got this giant club and this massive blaster that he probably never used in the film. He's got this wrinkly prune, like, just, I don't even know, like, I can't describe him.
He looks like he's stuck on a lemon.
Well, he's got that many different... I'm just going to bring it into full screen just to really show this one off. But look at him! He's ridiculous. Do you know what he reminds me of, actually, with all these like little silver attachments on his tunic and then the wrinkly scrotum face and stuff? It's like... He just looks like Robert De Niro in Frankenstein. But it's just... Like, I remember this figure being in the, like I said, that action figure archive book that Steve Sansweet did. And I remember seeing this one before I actually owned it and thinking, I don't even know where he's from. I don't remember seeing him in the film. I don't know who he is. But for those who may not know, he's one of Jabba's goons on the skiff or sail barge. And he's just ridiculous. He really is, and it's just, again, it's an epitome of what the Power of the Force 2 is, and it's just that level of detail, that effort that they put in, like textures and paint applications in the costume, accessories, detail. It's everything that I love about this line. Like I said, those deep cuts. Aliens, glup shitters, seldom seen characters, but still with that same level of detail and time and love and care that all the other figures received. It's just so good. It really,
and as a
really
visual
is.
figure on your shelf, he still holds up 25, nearly 30 years later.
Oh, absolutely. And that's
Yeah.
one of the things that I absolutely love about Power of the Force 2 is the fact that the sculpts, even though the articulation's not necessarily there, the sculpts still hold up. You were saying it with Akbar earlier. Like, Akbar still, as a figure, from an aesthetic point of view, yeah, he's a little bit on the buff side, but detail-wise, more than holds up. And I think that can be said for most figures from the later stages of Power of the Force 2, at least.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, that is, it encompasses everything that I love so much about that line. It's a superb figure. So there we go. That concludes our top 5 Power of the Force 2 figures.
That was fun.
Shall we take a look at some collections?
Oh, yeah.
Shall we dive in? So what we've done is various in the same sort of vein to our side quest stream we did many moons ago. Myself, Jesse, and Dan are putting together and rebuilding our Power of the Force 2 collections, and as such, we've dedicated a large portion of our rooms to this incredible line. And what we've done is just to share with you guys what we've been working on over the past few years. We've got a couple of little short videos to showcase our collections so far. So, Jesse, we'll start with you, mate. We haven't added audio to these videos, so if you want to just talk us through your sort of like your approach and your reasoning behind the way you've displayed your collection, and just what are we working with?
Yeah, so kind of just sort of going in sort of chronological order down the shelves. Obviously, the Rancor needs a little bit more room. You sort of go through, A New Hope, and it sort of starts drifting into The Empire Strikes Back, the Bounty Hunters, a few other randoms just sort of thrown in, and Return of the Jedi actually has a pretty solid foundation of figures. Sort of Expanded Universe, sort of gone Shadows of the Empire, sort of in the middle there. And then, this shelf down here pretty much comprises of figures that I've had to pull out of my normal sort of chronological display just for the sake of the video, like the band and everything like that. So Jabba's dancers, they're normally in Jabba's palace, but for the purpose of the video, I just threw them in there. But that space will be very shortly filled up with some of the deluxe things that I've got. Just sort of looking around my room, I realized that my A-Wing is actually a Power of the Force A-Wing too, so that's going to find some room.
I'm glad I'm not the only one having that issue, to be fair, because I'm the exact same. I've got Power of the Force 2 figures sprinkled into my chronological 3 3/4 inch display, and I'm like, do I pull them out and put them into it, or do I just get duplicates to add to that focus? But no, that's an incredible collection, mate.
With the Cantina coming next year, I'm glad figures like Neighbor and Leeds can then go jump back into my Power of the Force collection. So I'm not in and Tequil and Labria, they can probably jump over there. They may not feel like they fit in, and we'll see what else Hasbro's going to do with the Return to Tatooine and how else they're going to fill that Cantina over the next probably 12 months before that thing comes out. So if we can get a few updates to some of those older Cantina aliens, that'd be fantastic, but we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. I think we'll definitely see some of them. I think like Sivrak that I mentioned as part of my top 5, I think he's definitely due an update. It'd be fantastic. I mean, we've had Garrington since Power of the Force 2. We got him in the Saga line in 06. I think he's definitely due an update.
I think we had an update to Neighbor and Leeds, who had like a silver jumpsuit.
It was a repaint, wasn't it, of that original?
Same with Labria. He was a repaint.
It was Nabber and Leeds was weird because they actually repainted him, but then included him with Cabe that came in the Cabe and Muftak mail-away set.
Yeah.
Weird choices, because that's one of the things I was contemplating doing when I was putting my Power of the Force 2 collection back together, because at first it started off as I'm just going to get the definitive releases of each of these Power of the Force 2 figures. I'm not going to go with the more basic, primitive versions. I want the best possible versions of the Power of the Force 2 figures. And so my thought process there was, well, I'm going to get the Saga 06 versions of Nabron, Leeds and Labria because the paint quality was just so much better. But I just decided to just go balls to the wall and just go all in on that original 95 to 96 to 98 line. And as such, so this is my collection of Power of the Force 2. I've done a similar sort of thing, started in chronological order with A New Hope and worked my way through into Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. I've got some really nice carded examples at the back, and then we've got sort of larger sets on the second shelf with some of the mail away figures in the back there, still in the box. That Endor bunker that I talked about earlier, a little bit of a Return of the Jedi setup with the speeder bikes on there. And then this is my Expanded Universe and Deluxe display. Some, again, larger sets. The Complete Galaxy sets as well, which were absolutely ridiculous. Like, what a bizarre concept to put out. I mean, just to go back to it, like, it was some of the, like I said, just such an innovative line. One of my other objectives with this collection was to get the bounty hunters all together as well. So got those front and centre. That Ula figure was a Grail piece. You've got Jabba there as well. The Ewoks as well. Two figures that go for a hefty sum these days for whatever reason. But glad to finally have those in the collection as well.
So it still blows me away that they didn't do more Ewoks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got this guy as part of the Complete Galaxy display, but that's just a Wicket repaint. So, yeah. But no, really, really cool concepts that they put out, like the deluxe stuff, the play sets, like we were saying earlier, and yeah, just some really funky stuff for that line. Dan, your collection is coming together nicely, my friend.
Oh, flipping heck! It's been a journey. I've again doing it in the sort of film order, and just trying to cram everything into this shelf has been fun. I feel like I've been chasing after more of the rarer figures before actually getting the easier to get ones, which has been costly but worth it. So this is the shelf where it's the odds and sods, some exclusives. We've got the Expanded Universe characters and the deluxe stuff. You can even see a Mace Windu poke in there. I just love this line. It looks really cool when you get them all together. It's just an eclectic mash of humans, aliens, and surprisingly you can't see many stormtroopers. There's a good reason for that, which we will probably get to in a bit. But yeah, you can never have enough stormtroopers, so I'm probably going to end up getting more.
Sorry, I was just going to say, just at the start of your clip there, the freeze frame binder. Is that what that is? The freeze frame folder?
Yes, it is. I got that recently, actually. Surprisingly, doesn't fit all the actual freeze frames in it, so you have to buy multiple. Which was a little bit. If I just get it, watch yourself, Gonky. Come on.
Extra pages sold separately.
Yeah, so effectively, you think, oh yeah, it's going to be a big book or a medium-sized book. Nah, just one page. But it lists all the freeze frames that you can collect, but it doesn't fit. It's literally just one side.
Can you not double them up in the same pouch?
Nope. I thought you could.
That's a pain.
But yeah, a bit annoying. But I've put the ones that I've got already just in there, and then there's just one odd. Sadly, 8080 driver.
The 2-page version's deluxe.
But you know what? I love that. I love the fact that they came with. Some of them came with the freeze frames. There we go. If I do that,
yeah,
that's so cool. Yeah,
awesome. No, those collections are fire, lads. They're looking really, really good. Like I said, it's your fault, Jesse, that 3 shelves of my collection are now dedicated to this line. So cheers for that, mate. You've cost me a fortune, but I wouldn't have it any other way, to be honest, because it is just it's a line that I just have so much love for. And yeah, I'm just so happy that I've been able to go back and just rebuild it. It's been such a labour of love and such a fun little project to work on. Yeah,
and the price is right for most of the time too. Like, it's not.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things. Like Dan was saying, he's gone and picked up some of the rarer figures first. I think that's what's really cool about this line, is that you can build up the majority of it relatively cheap, which then affords you that little bit of extra money to pay for the higher the the higher price stuff. Like me and you were talking yesterday, weren't we, Dan? Like some of the larger sets fetch weird prices for some reason, like Han and Luke on the Tauntauns and the Wampa. Some of the pricier items in the line for whatever reason, but once you've built up the majority of that collection, you know, and you've got those funds to spare, you can go back and pick them up towards the end of it, and not worry too much about what you're spending because you've pretty much completed the collection. So that's fair, sort of where I'm at now.
It's super satisfying as well when you do find a Grail piece for a really cheap price, because I actually got the 8080 Commander, or basically General Veers. I got him loose for about, was it? It was definitely less than 20 quid. So I was really chuffed with getting him. That's cool. And then there's also loads of weird stuff, like as I've shown the Power of the Force freeze frame binder. Something I got recently, just as an example, as weird and wonderful. Try and get this in frame. I got the
look at that
board game as well. I couldn't bring myself to open it because it was just in such good condition. And again, I got this relatively cheap, but they don't come up that often. So sometimes it is a bit of a waiting game to kind of find some of this stuff. Some longer than others. I think I'm going to be waiting an absolute eternity to get one of them Millennium Falcon carrying cases with the Imperial scanning crew guys, because that one is cannot find that one at all.
The beauty is in this line in Power of the Force 2 is that there is an end goal, there is an end point that's, you know, it's a complete collection that you can take as long as you need to complete it, and there's an end point. Whereas trying to collect modern stuff, they just keep putting shit out.
And it's nice when, because I find it, at least at the start of the year, every year, you have that nice breathing pace from all the new stuff, you know, awaiting to come out. So you have that extra funds to be like, right, now's the time I can play catch up with Power of the Force. What am I missing? Go thrift shopping, go hunting. That's the beauty of it, you know. Especially when I go to conventions. I think when I went to Celebration, I made that a literal glup shitto hunter-thon, and I ticked a lot of glup shittos off from the Power of the Force too, just by going to Celebration.
To be fair, like, it's one of those as well. Like, it's such a fun journey as well. Like, there is an end in sight, unless you go down the variant card route and all that sort of stuff, which is just a completely different rabbit hole altogether. But there is an end in sight, but it's also just a fun thing to do. Like you said, Dan, like when you're out, you can go thrift shopping, and you never know, like you can go to a car boot or a market or something like that, you know, somewhere that you don't necessarily expect to find toys, and you'll be rooting through some bins and some baskets, and you just find Power of the Force 2 stuff, and it's like, and when some of that harder to find stuff often pops up, like it did yesterday when we were out and about, and we saw the Luke and Tauntaun, it's like,
flipping heck.
Yeah, it's that little jump of whoa,
double rainbow.
I've been looking for that for so long, and now it's finally here, and it's just so cool.
It can also be really bloody frustrating.
Yeah,
because there's a certain figure in my collection, Mr. Kyle Katarn, that I bought at Celebration loose, bought him a little gun, couldn't find him anywhere. You know, think Celebration, you're going to find a figure like that pretty easily. Nah, only one person had him, and it was loose. And after that, found him everywhere. Found one carded, found one. I think it's the figure that I've bought potentially most of at this point, or at least seen most of now. It's haunts me. Same with Thrawn. I spent a stupid amount on Thrawn, and then we went to Star Wars Fan Fun Day, and he was there. And I was like, you know what, I kind of want to get him again, even though I've got one carded. I've got one open.
Army build for Power of the Force Thrawns.
I'm losing the plot. Because I'm like, it's like the guy who collects all the Zuvios.
Oh, shout out to Martin if he's watching.
I'm going to end up like that, I feel like.
Do it.
So there you go. It's like Milky Way Skywalker says as well. I set a low price goal, which makes the hunt even more fun. That's it. That's like if you set yourself a budget and you say to yourself, "I'm not going to pay more than this for X, Y, Z." It really does help. I mean, that's what I'm doing at the moment. Like I said, with the Endor bunker, for example. With the Endor bunker, for example, I said I wasn't going to pay more than 50 quid for it, and I didn't. And that's like really satisfying.
Yeah.
And I'm doing the exact same now with the Hoth battle set. I don't want to pay more than, I think the average price I see it go for is between 80 and 130. I'm not paying more than 80 for it. So if I can find it cheaper, absolute bonus. And it's like with some of the next on my list, I've got the Expanded Universe Cloud Car, the concept Cloud Car, and the Airspeeder. The Cloud Car is relatively cheap, but the Airspeeder fetches a little bit more. But I'm saying to myself, I'm not paying more than £25 each for those. So I'm constantly hunting and hoping that lower priced ones pop up. And it's just a realistic thing to do. It's fun to, just keep scrolling through eBay and hope that, and when those bargains do pop up, it's just such a satisfying feeling.
Definitely.
And for me, it's reignited the thrill of the hunt.
Yeah. I like chucking stuff on the watch list on eBay, and then occasionally a seller will put out they might put out a 10% discount or a 20% discount or something. It's like, cool. You sit on it for a little bit, wait for them to roll in, or just keep your eyes peeled and save yourself a few dollary dues. Yeah,
it's fun. It's fun playing the game, isn't it? It really is. Dan, just because you were talking about Kyle Katarn, it just seems fitting to segue into our next little bit. Unfortunately, the clip that you sent, the transfer link expired. I've just tried downloading it, and for some bizarre reason, it's wanting me to set up it's wanting me to set up a paid account, so I can't access it. So if you have to hand what you were alluding to, with the lack of stormtroopers in your collection.
Oh, the video. Can I present that?
I believe so. Yeah. Do you have the present option on your dash?
I do. What does it do?
Yeah. So if you press present and then select video file, you should just be able to pop it in.
Oh, okay. Right. Bear with me. Let's have a little look for this. Where did I put it in my files? God. Oh. Hold up.
I just thought if you didn't have the video to hand, if you had the item itself that you could.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I mean, go for the video, mate.
I'll see if I can find it.
Because it ties in quite well to what we're gonna jump onto next. So.
Yeah. Just bear with me. I think I've got it somewhere. Which folder? That's the problem. I save all my flipping videos. I'm getting nervous.
The pressure's on.
I'm panicking. Here it is. Right. Okay. So present video file.
Hey, Anakin, quit panicking.
Okay. Hold on. Oh, can I just drag and drop it? Is that a thing I can do? No, can't do that. Sorry. Okay, I'm getting there. I know where it is. I found the folder.
There we go.
Oh, here we go. Sorry about it. Bear with me, guys. I'm really sorry about this. Oh.
You're all right. You take your time, mate. Let's in fact, we'll throw it to the chat while you're on the hunt.
Throw it to the chat.
Milky Way's dropped some more comments. Most of the shops near me are selling them carded for $2 back in 2018, $6 for Expanded Universe. This is the beauty of it. It's such a cheap line to collect, or at least it was. I mean, me and Dan were talking about this before. Like when we were going to toy fairs and cons and stuff like that, rooting through bargain bins and finding figures from Power of the Force for, 2 and 3 for a $5, and 5 figures for a $10 and all this sort of stuff. And now like that love seems to be coming back, and I think part of that is probably our fault. But it's
generational too,
yeah.
It's the age of the kids now that have, they've gone out and worked for a certain amount of years, and now they got can manage a slightly semi-disposable income, and no one's put tariffs on Power of the Force figures yet, so
not yet. Give it time.
Give me 2 minutes, lads.
Oh. No worries. Have you managed to sort it, Dan?
I have found it. I don't want to click open just in case it starts playing it automatically.
Okay,
So-
well, we'll come to it in a little bit, but the next bit of the stream we're going to jump into is the reviews of the deluxe figures. Like I said at the start of the show, where the three of us between us have completed the deluxe line, and so we're gonna treat you to some live reviews while we're here. But just in keeping with what Dan is about to show us, and to get you hyped for the deluxe action figure reviews.
Oh yeah,
Are you ready for a bit of nostalgia?
nostalgia.
Are you ready to throw it back to 1995?
1995.
Let's go. Let's take a trip back in time.
Roll it.
Nobody does Star Wars like the power of the Force from Canada. The only universe with deluxe crowd control stormtroopers with thruster pack and capture claw. Han Solo geared up with smuggler flight pack. And Luke Skywalker with big battle action desert skiff. And only Kenner brings you the full force and big detail of the Rebel snowspeeder with blazing laser lights. And big movie sounds. Now you're playing with the power. Star Wars, Power of the Force. Figures come with vehicles. Snowspeeder sold separately. Batteries not included. From Kenner.
God, that takes me back.
That is glorious.
That takes me right back.
Like a fine wine. Like a fine
so good.
wine.
I can't believe I never realised that Mark Hamill narrated those commercials.
Yeah.
That's mad.
Wow. I didn't even pick that.
Yeah, it's told Luke himself. But
That's-
no, that does bring us to the review portion of the stream. Like I said, as the thumbnail suggests, this is a deluxe figure focus. Even though we're an hour and a half in, we're getting good at that, aren't we? Dan, just on the subject of commercials and advertisements and what have you, just talk us through. I mean, you can open it up, and if it does play, then
Yeah.
that's fine.
Well-
but yeah, just
Shall we punch it?
yeah, punch it, mate. Go for it. There we go.
Alright.
It's popped up.
As it
Let's.
pops up.
This is a little something, a little love letter to those commercials. A little love letter to a massive punch of 90s nostalgia, which is the Dark Forces video game. And this is something that Dan, in the spirit of those Power of the Force 2 commercials, put together a couple of years ago.
Kenner, Star Wars, Power of the Force. Expand your universe with characters from Star Wars Dark Forces. The smash hit video game featuring Kyle Katarn, mercenary for hire. Armed only with a blaster pistol, he infiltrates the Imperial base. But is he ready to face the secrets within?
There it is.
Love that.
That's so good. That's so good.
So you alluded to it earlier that you said there was a severe lack of stormtroopers in your main Power of the Force 2
Yep.
display. So talk us through, because you did a little project yourself, didn't you? Within a project almost.
Yeah, it was kind of weird because I saw that you'd got the detention box set a couple of years back, and I was like, "Oh, that's really cool. Love how you set it up with like the Death Star prison escape with Chewbacca and Luke and Han in the Stormtroopers disguise." And I'd started playing Power of the Force. Dark Forces. Getting the wording right. Dark Forces on my PC. And I was like, oh, you know what? This reminds me of the level where you have to free General Dodonna. Is it General Dodonna? No, not General Dodonna.
General Madine.
General Madine, yeah. And because of that sliding door, I thought, you know what? I'm gonna have to try and do a thing here. So I went to Celebration. I was in vast hopes that I'd find myself a Kyle Katarn, but alas, couldn't find one that was complete. But I managed to find one loose with a little £1 Power of the Force blaster that someone was selling because they were selling accessories. So I thought, cool, that goes with it nicely. That's a nice little display thing. I had a Stormtrooper that I actually got from my nan's wake. Of all places, you know.
Every time you tell me that story, Dan, I've just got visions of somebody like peddling Star Wars figures at a buffet.
Genuinely, I was literally sat at my grandma's wake. Obviously, it's a bit of a sad state of affairs. And and one of my family members coming in. I was like, "Oh, Dan, they've got Star Wars figures in the charity shop," and I was like, "Oh no,
Be right back."
I'm not. Oh, no, nah, I'm not that insensitive." I was like, "I don't want to go. I just fucking waking it." I'm like, it's like, and Mum was just like, "Sod it, just go for it, loser." It's like, all right then. And I was looking in the window, and to be fair, I paid over the odds for it, but the big sads hit in, and I was like, you know what, 15 quid, sod it. Spent 25 quid on a Power of the Force Rebel Pilot Luke. 15 quid on a Stormtrooper. And I go to Celebration, I buy 2 Stormtroopers for $5 a piece. So that's why I've got quite a few Stormtroopers. And I thought, that's perfect. That'll sit nicely in my little display. And then I ended up finding the Death Star Escapes, the little play set, the detention block. And I put that little advertisement together when I got home. I was like, oh, this is a fun little thing to do, isn't it? Because I had the Dark Trooper from 2005, slotted that in there. And it's just became a thing, and it sits quite nicely on my Celebration display because it's a nice little memoir of that event, and also the hunt for Glup Shittos. And it's kind of got a nice little memory to my nan as well, because I spent over the odds, and she'd probably say, "What you bought that for?" I was like, "Cheers, Nan, thank you."
No, that's the thing I love about Power of the Force 2 is just there's so many sentimental stories behind why we collect it and what we've collected, and it's just, and like you said, just little projects within projects like that you've done with the Dark Forces display is just so cool. It encourages that creativity, I feel like, and it's just fun in it. It's just a really, really fun line. Yeah, so just on that, with, like I said, carrying on from that Deluxe Power of the Force 2 commercial from way back in the day, it's now time for our Deluxe figure focus. And just because Caleb has brought it up, we'll work our way through the Deluxe line. And like I said, we're going to do some live on the off the cuff, on the spot reviews. So we're all tackling a couple of figures each.
I've only got one.
Jesse's only got one, which is fine.
Thanks, Mr. Postman. Thanks, eBay seller.
But
should have had them by now.
Yeah,
but it's okay.
You can give him a slap when he does eventually deliver it. It's fine.
Yeah.
So let's jump right into it. The first figure that we're going to take a look at is this ridiculous thing. This is the Deluxe Power of.
About it.
There's a couple of ridiculous things about it.
Do you think he's overcompensating?
Well, he's trying to show off a bit, isn't he?
It's nice lipstick gun.
This is the Deluxe Power of the Force 2 Boba Fett with jetpack. And one of the things I absolutely love about this Power of the Force 2 Deluxe line is how impractical the accessories are. Because how in the blue hell was any human being... I mean, like I said, it's a good job that these figures are buff. How the hell is any human being expected to carry around a weapons pack of this sort of size? Like, it weighs a ton as a toy, let alone as an actual backpack. But this is... I've got to say, this is probably one of my favourite Deluxe figures from the line, to be honest, because I have a huge amount of love for that Power of the Force 2 Boba Fett. This is a slight variation on the basic release, in the sense that the stance has been widened to support the backpack. The sculpt and the paintwork does differ slightly to the original release. But as you can see, the most noticeable thing about this one is that it comes with this just egregious backpack. And it's a thing of beauty. There's a firing torpedo on the top, which operates on a hinge. There's a button at the top there, which you can press. And as Dan alluded to earlier, the lipstick goes firing out. And then you can pop the torpedo back down once he's done. He's also got a couple of buttons on the side, which allow you to spring out these absolutely massive wings that carry with them blasters, which are on a rotation on the side. They're really cool. And you've got all this like extra ammo sculpted down the side there.
They should have called that Slave 2.
Yes.
Yes.
Because that's what it feels like, to be honest with you. Like I said, it does feel like, I think it is a flight pack to a degree, as on the back you've got the jet thrusters sculpted in there. But again, just like talking about what we were covering earlier when it comes to sculpted detail and just fantastic effort. Like, yeah, this is something we never saw on screen. This is purely a Kenner creation to give you a little bit more value for money. You know, what I love about this, I read it somewhere, I can't remember where it was, but someone pointed out if you couldn't afford the larger vehicles or you know, you wanted something a little bit different in your collection, but you didn't quite have the funds for it, these deluxe figures, the mini rigs, all that sort of stuff, offered a really nice, cheaper alternative that allowed you just to get a little bit of extra playability into your collection with these figures. And they don't come much better, in my opinion, at least, than this one. Like I said, that torpedo can be tucked away down the back there. And the whole thing does remove as well. He's got the little strap there is on a hinge. And then the jetpack itself just plugs into Boba's back. It is a little bit tight because it's never actually been off. But yeah, you can remove the jetpack itself, and then underneath you've got, I'd argue, a pretty decent Power of the Force 2 Boba Fett figure. And what I really like about this one as well is that if you've got the regular release, you could actually place the actual screen accurate backpack onto this figure as well, and it's multifaceted. But from a figure standpoint, you know, I love the colours on this one. It's not based on his appearance in The Empire Strikes Back. It's a little bit more resemblant of his appearance in Return of the Jedi. But what the Power of the Force 2 Boba Fett figures actually did was draw inspiration from sort of a prototype costume for the character that was put together during production, where the jumpsuit was a little bit darker and he had the brown gauntlets and gloves as opposed to the ones that we ultimately see in The Empire Strikes Back. And what's really interesting about the Power of the Force 2 Boba Fett figures is that the Shadows of the Empire comic pack Boba Fett that came with IG-88 is actually more accurate to The Empire Strikes Back than any of the other Boba Fett figures in the line. So this, in a roundabout sense, is more of an expanded universe figure than the Shadows of the Empire version. But I've always had, like I said, a fond love for this figure. I think it looks really, really cool. I mean, articulation-wise, you've just got the standard 5 points for the Power of the Force line. Or is it? Oh, no, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 points of articulation. My apologies. We have a swivel at the head. Swivel shoulders, of course, a nice little swivel at the waist, and swivel hips. But yeah, just from, like I said, a paintwork point of view, sculpt is really nice for the time. It's just a really, really cool looking figure. I really like this one a lot. And then, like I said, with the addition of that egregious jetpack as well, it's just a really, really fun figure. And it was one that was, when I was rebuilding that collection of Power of the Force 2 figures, because this is one that I never had when I was a kid. It was one that I absolutely made a point of picking up, and I'm really glad that I did. And on that note, I do highly recommend this one if you're a Boba Fett fan, and you just love the whimsy and the ridiculous. Then this is definitely one of the better figures to add to the collection. So yeah, there we go. And you've also got the Mythosaur on the side there, which is really, really cool. So yeah, just a really, really fun figure. And for me, my favourite deluxe figure from the Power of the Force 2.
Book of Boba Fett Season 2. Let's have it.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes.
Let's do it.
Yes. That would be so cool. I'd be here for it. I really would. But yeah, and then you can like fold the whole thing up as well, so it's a little bit more compact. So yeah, it's just really
shelf space. It's going to be good for shelf space.
Definitely. It's really fun.
It's also one of the ones where you can actually stand it up pretty well because it has that extra bit of plastic on the backpack. Oh, do you not think? Do you think otherwise?
Yeah, once you've folded it all up, but if you've if you've got the wings out, and because that's one of the things I should point out, that if you've got the torpedo set like this, and then you've got the wings popped out, then you definitely need this one on a display stand. I've found, at least anyway. Your mileage may vary, but yeah, I've had to get this one on a display stand because that's how I've opted to display him on my shelf.
Open wings is the one, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, it just looks cool. It's just fun. It's just pure 90s, you know.
This is exciting. This is what I've got coming in the coming week or two.
That's it.
There you go. Little sneak preview there for you, Jesse.
I'm gonna have a little opening party. It's gonna be fun.
There you go. What have you got to show and tell for us, Jesse? Which deluxe figure are you tackling?
So it is called the Hoth Rebel Soldier with anti-vehicle laser cannon. So we have here, it's the Hoth turret, and comes with the Hoth Rebel Trooper, which there was a variant of him released on a single card with a beard, and I think this one was released as well on a single card, because I do have a couple of each. So I have a little Hoth squad. So he's got his cool guy sunnies on.
This one was exclusive to the deluxe set, Jesse. Didn't see a basic release. And fun fact, the figures are completely different.
There you go. I should pay more attention.
That's okay.
So yeah, he has his backpack, which is removable. It's his survival pack, according to the packaging. But yeah, the turret here, it's got a couple of little firing features on it. You can actually remove that from there. There is a little trigger at the back, which will cause that to pop out and fall on the floor, which is always convenient.
It's a hefty bit of plastic as well, so when it does fall,
yeah, it almost landed on my foot.
Yeah, it takes a few figures with it. If it decides to leap off your shelf, it takes a few figures with it as well.
Yeah, so not super action orientated. It does have a little missile. There's a little switch right there on the back, so you can. I'm going to try and aim for the camera. No. But yeah, again, it's got that sort of cool sort of Power of the Force style weathering. It's almost that sort of speckled, dirty look.
I've got a lot of love for that. To be fair,
and
they don't make them like they used to.
No, it's paint like I mentioned before. It's paint that's not going to come off. But yeah, little stickers on there, little reflective stickers. I think you can probably get Sky News on this thing. A little bit of tank tread on there. But yeah, in terms of the way he sort of just stands behind it, you pose him up and just have him on display.
It's cool when you think that the deluxe line was sort of a combination of kind of creations that were just there for pure playability and value for money, and then you've got screen accurate pieces like this.
Yeah, because I mean, you go and get the Hoth playset and it's the other turrets and stuff, and you build it all up and you've got some cool stuff. So you got a cool little Hoth playset, which is nice.
Yeah, this is one that would complement that Hoth battle set really, really nicely. The one that's like got the snow. It's got the snow display base and then the larger turret on it as well. World building. That's a cool figure.
But he is, he could just about go and punch an AT-AT and knock it off its feet. So,
yep.
You just drop kick it and then knock it over. Look at that. Yeah, he means business. See, while not as, super action orientated as some of the others, like the Boba Fett and some of the other ones you're going to talk about, it's still a cool addition to have. It's still a nice piece, and you get a couple other Hoth troopers around it, and it looks cool.
Yeah, definitely. You could pick a few of these up and make a larger battlefield scene as well, and that'd look pretty cool.
You could, yeah.
Nice. Thank you very much, Jesse. Dan, over to you, mate. Which ones are you going to give us a look at?
Okay, so I think just to match with Boba Fett, you thought his backpack was ridiculous. Let's go for Han Solo with the Smuggler Flight Pack. This thing is, I mean, the name itself, Smuggler, not really anything incognito about that, is there? It's Han wearing, if we just look at the figure first, right? We'll open up the arms. So you've got Han, who already is different from the standard release because he's got this really weird, garish orange flight harness actually built onto the figure and painted, of which, kind of interesting.
That's where Kylo Ren got his Matt the Radar Technician outfit.
Yes. Yes. But other than that, it's pretty similar to the other Han, other than that body. All right, head sculpt for the time. Not really much to ring around about other than the body itself. And he has a massive gaping hole in the back of his outfit. And you can plug him into there, like so. Oh, yeah. So it's nice and secured into that. You fold down the little harness, and he's in it. Now, smuggling-wise, he's got this articulated claw, which you can control by this little knob, like so. So
I forgot about that feature.
Yeah. So what you can do is can we get this stormtrooper? Come on. No, that's not happening. But you can try and capture stuff, try and smuggle it. Oh, I'm so incognito. So sneaky, so smuggle. You've got that. I feel like this is something he'd probably use to help him, load the Falcon a little bit. Kind of like if he had it clawed in there, he'd like, oh, this is so fucking heavy. This backpack's really not making this job any easier. It's kind of that deal. But not only that, if someone catches him and he's doing his little smuggling job, if you push this down, just do that again. Do that again. Come on, because my fingers got in the way.
Out come the big guns.
Oh, I did it again. Fucking hell. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it because it's like... That'll do. VR! Big old cannons. It's like... Come on, then. It's like... How cool is that? It's so ridiculous. It's so against what you would think a smuggling flight pack is. But it's so awesome as well. Like, you've got these big jet engine almost kind of things that are used to conceal those guns. They almost look like droidica blasters as well, I think.
Oh, yeah, they
just
do
a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. I love the design of this thing and the playability. Even as ridiculous as that claw mechanic is.
It's just fun, though, isn't it?
It's just a fun, goofy little pack, and I love the paint. The orange on the jet thing on the back as well. It's just a neat toy.
Nice details on it.
Yeah. Like, for something that's homebrewed by Kenner and Hasbro, it's just, wonderful.
As I was saying before we went live, I reckon this is what Han used to catch the Rathtars before The Force Awakens took place.
100%.
Like, you think catching Rathtars is cheap? I had to buy a big jetpack.
I feel like it's the right sort of shape.
Thing broke my back.
The claw's the right shape for it as well, because the Rathtar's around. It's just like, yep, got that.
You've got the 3.75-inch Rathtar. I'd love to see that happen.
I actually do, but I don't have it to hand, annoyingly. So I might have to try and see how that works. But Yeah, it's nothing too special. You know, the Han articulation wise, same as Steve says. He's got with the Boba Fett, swivel head, swivel shoulders, swivel hip, swivel legs. Yeah, he's all right. He's one of the more classic ones, and you can get. I think with most of these deluxe figures, you can get them really, really cheap.
Yeah,
which is nice.
The only one that really goes for a decent bit of money is the probe droid.
Yeah.
But we felt really lucky on that, didn't we, Dan? Because we went in on a bundle together.
Yeah.
Because you were missing quite a few of the deluxe figures, and I needed the probe droid, and this was one that came with the probe droid and a couple of the others. And so we just went in on that, and that's how we've been able to complete the line between us, really. So that brings us to yeah, exactly. And the probe droid itself goes for around that price. That brings us to the next one in the line, and that is the aforementioned probe droid, or if you're an OG, Probot. This is again like the Hoth cannon that Jesse showcased. This is another one of those. It's not a Kenner creation. It's still a deluxe figure. It came in one of the larger sets. But it's actually something that we saw in the movie, and I think even by today's standards, this toy still holds up pretty nicely. I mean, yeah, it's got the big red missile, as was the case with a lot of 90s toys back in the day. But from a sculpt standpoint, again, as can be said with most of the Power of the Force 2 figures, the detail's definitely there. It's got shelf presence. It looks like what it's supposed to be. The head itself is really nicely detailed with all these like different sensors and eyes and all that sort of stuff. Like I said, there is a large missile at the front of the head there, which once again can be fired. The head itself rotates, and if I just move it around... Oh no, the button's on the top of his head. This is the thing with these figures, I don't play with them enough. So there's a button on the top of the head that allows you to fire that rocket, and then that will fire out like so. Don't know where that's gone. He's got the little antennas on the top, but then like I said, from a sculpt perspective, like all the rivets and bolts are all there, which look really, really cool. Like I said, from a screen accuracy point of view, like this is pretty good. And I also like the additional feature of the head that pushes up like so to reveal this sort of hidden turret underneath. I want to say there's another aspect to this where the head fires off. I'm not entirely sure. There's like there's a red missile poking out at the bottom of the head, and I can't. I should have kept the instructions.
I think the old Kenner one had a similar. Maybe not.
Yeah, I should have kept the instructions for this one, but yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a feature that allows you to fire the head off as well. I don't know where the button is for that though. Should have probably looked into that before I started this review, but there we go. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the head's spring loaded, and that can launch off as well. It's sort of a modular piece, but I'll be damned if I can find out where the button is for that. Is that it? Oh, that's it, I think. It's on the bottom. There we go. Ah, there it is. It's right behind the missile. Dummy. Yeah, so there's a little lever just behind that red projectile underneath. If you give that a little press, this is where you're all going to be deafened. There you go.
Hey!
The head pops off. So that's how you can sort of like it's packing that action feature, and it's like what they did with the speeder bikes, where you've got the little pouch on the back that you press and the whole thing explodes. It's a way of adding that scene in the movie into an action feature. So obviously Han and Chewie take out the Probots on Hoth, and that's a cool way of like if you're playing with these figures, you know, you've got your Hoth Han over here, and he's wanting to take out the Probot. You press that button. Off goes the head, and it's just a really fun little feature. But as an action figure on its own, comes with a ton of detail. You've got little stickers to replicate some of that mechanical detail on there, but then the rest is sculpted and painted, which is really, really nice. And then you've got all these articulated limbs as well. So you've got swivels there on all these legs and arms, which can all be posed differently if you so wish. It stands really well. Once you pose it up as well, it's quite level, and you can get it to stand on a shelf really nicely. If you want to have it posed a little bit more dynamically, then I suppose third-party display stands are available, and you can do that. Have that, but yeah, it's just a really cool figure, and it's one that I've been looking for the longest time. And like I said, felt really lucky with that little bundle of deluxe figures that myself and Dan came across on eBay recently. And yeah, I'm just really happy to have this one in the collection. I actually have this one because they reissued it as part of the Hoth Recon Patrol Battle Pack in the Legacy Collection, and they added a little bit of a snowy deco to it. And gave it more of a silver finish. But that's just a testament to how well this figure holds up, in my opinion. And so, yeah, it's a really, really cool little figure. And if you can find one at the right price, then it's definitely worth adding to the collection, even if you're not collecting Power of the Force 2, just to get it out there and into your sort of Hoth or Empire Strikes Back display. It's a really, really nice display piece. So, yeah, definitely recommended. Really, really cool figure. So there we go. That's the Probe Droid. Dan, your next figure.
So, keeping with Hoth, the Hoth theme, it's the Snowtrooper with Eat-Web cannon. This is a chunky, deluxe pack again. You've got this really big E-Web cannon, which you do have to assemble. Comes with the ammo crate, which is here. That plugs into a soft plastic cable that then plugs into the bottom of the E-Web cannon itself. A little bit awkward to display, I find, at least when I've got it on my display.
Yeah,
so
me too.
Kind of had to cram everything together. But if we just take the Snowtrooper off, I believe it is a different sculpt from the standard release Snowtrooper, because his legs are actually posed in that squatted position, specifically made for that E-Web to hold it. But he's got his backpack, which is removable for some reason. You've got this kind of weirdly bit of sand dust kind of look on his garbs, which is interesting. But looks pretty great, as you'd expect a Snowtrooper. Some doodads. Articulation-wise, his head is sculpted onto the body. He has swivels in terms of his articulation, swivel shoulders, swivel torso, and swivel hips. He doesn't come with any accessories, and that's a key thing to actually mention with a lot of these figures. They don't come with the standard accessories that they come with, like blasters or the weapons that the single figures came with. So, yeah. I mean, it's a Snowtrooper. He looks good. I like the squatted position because it's specifically for the E-Web cannon. I always find it weird how he has these orange flecks on his boots, which is quite neat. It's, weird bit of detail, but quite neat. Yeah, he's nice. I like him. I like him a lot. But as for the E-Web, this is where it gets interesting. So I did mention it comes in separate parts. You got the crate, the ammo crate, the feed, and then it plugs into the actual stand, and then you actually put the legs. It all comes disassembled, so you have to actually plug the legs into the main body of the cannon. The cannon does go up and down, all around. There's handles for him to hold it. Like with a lot of these, the play feature is hidden into the thing. So you look at it initially with this thing, it's like, well, what does it do? Is that it? It does actually have a firing missile, which, interestingly enough, the missile is black. It's not coloured, which I always found really weird because I thought that was a big thing back in the day where missiles had to be a colour, so it's clear as day that, this is harmful, don't shoot in eye, be good kid now. But no, this is like, nah, shh, don't tell anyone, because there's actually a button up here that you press and it fires the missile out. And again, it's purely black missile that you just stick into the cannon. It's not coloured. You wouldn't even notice it really, which is kind of really cool as a display piece at least. So you've got that. It's really nicely sculpted. There's some cool details on that. It looks almost like it's been pulled from the film, just a little bit oversized for a 3 3/4 inch figure. But the E-Web is just a chunky gun anyway. So yeah, I really like that. I really like how you can actually pose it, and the Snowtrooper as well when you get it all together. Just adds to that that whole Hoth diorama. If you had the AT-80 and AT-ST, and the Hoth playset, and the Hoth, radar dish turret thing that we've just seen, and the probe droid, you've got a really cool looking Hoth diorama and display. They really did such a cool emphasis on Hoth for the Power of the Force, and I love that. So yeah, it's a really nice set. It's a really cool set. I think it's a little bit one of the overlooked ones as well. But that's just me. That's on a postcard with that. But yeah, I like it. I like it a lot.
Have you mentioned the feature of the ammo crate as well?
The ammo crate. Oh, that's I only just discovered that. As you mentioned it, it's like, that's the feature?
Yep.
What's the little? Oh, that's the peg that feeds into it. Oh, yeah. So you can store your little accessory. Okay,
and that's exactly what I've done with mine. All my spare blasters and Power of the Force accessories are all hidden in that little ammo crate.
You know what? That's really cool, and that adds to my love for it even more. I didn't even know that. Also, the fact that it's got handles on the ammo crate, so you could maybe have some stormtroopers like carrying it along for him. Oh. Yeah.
It's just fun, innit?
That's fun, innit? That's fun. Love that.
Off to eBay I go again.
I'm surprised that's not one that you've got, Jesse, because with having the Hoth Rebel trooper into it, I thought that would have been one that you'd have already had to complement.
I reckon I've got the black box that we're just talking about. I reckon I've got that on its own somewhere. And I've got a standard Snowtrooper, but just haven't got the complete set.
Yeah, so, I was going to say, because that's one I had when I was as a kid and parted ways with to make room for other stuff in my collection, but I've since rebought, and it's just a really, really cool set. And going back to what we were saying earlier about sculpts and consistency and all that sort of stuff, like that deluxe hand that you showed, Dan, uses the same head sculpt as all the other hands in the line.
Yeah.
And the Snowtrooper is also it's like it is the same trooper from the basic carded line, but modified. But there's still that consistency there that they all feel the same, and it's just that's what I love about the Power of the Force. And I'm going to play devil's advocate. I'm going to say it: that Power of the Force 2 Han Solo head sculpt, underrated likeness to Harrison Ford, does not get enough love.
Yeah,
does not get enough love. I think we've just got 2 more deluxe figures to cover. So the next one that we're going to take a look at is this chap. This is the crowd control Stormtrooper, and again, weight and just practicality is absent with this figure. Because how the hell are you supposed to control a crowd when you're lumbering this giant thing around with you? It just doesn't make sense, but I'm here for it. I
always thought this one was like a Stormtrooper kind of trash collector, because he's got his little
FN 187.
Yeah, he's just carrying like a little garbage grabber. He's got his little poker to get the crisp packets that the Stormtroopers left, and his jetpack's just there for convenience to get around. You know.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'll take that. It's garbage disposal.
Put it in the trash compactor so he doesn't get his hands dirty.
Yeah.
Well, that's foreshadowing. That will lead us into one of our next topics. But yeah, definitely a interesting looking figure. I really like the jetpack design on this one, though. I think it looks really, really cool. It's a little bit more subtle than some of the other jetpacks in the deluxe line, but it's still really nice. There is a button on it, which again offers a spring-loaded feature, but again, I've misplaced it, and I don't know. Bloody hell, it's gone. Bear with me 1 second. Where is it? Oh, I should have done more research into. There we go. So it's hidden. It's actually quite hidden. So there is a little button just under the thrusters on this one that allow you to spring those out like that.
I actually like that look. With the,
that looks sick.
That looks better. And then on the back, you've got these really cool decals as well on the back of the jetpack, which I absolutely love. Like, I must like to think that they're like sort of hazard signs or warning labels. Don't come too close, crowd, or I will control you. It's just really cool. It looks pretty nice.
Would have liked to have seen something like that in Endor with the Ferrex uprising.
Oh yes,
yeah.
Have a few
that
of
was
these
the
guys.
Do you know what? That was when I watched that episode. That was one of the first things I thought. I was like, you need a Power of the Force 2 crowd control stormtrooper to sort these lot out. These unscrupulous rebels. But yeah, no, the jetpack's really cool. Like Dan was saying with the Deluxe Boba Fett. This one does actually stand quite well on his own because the stance is staggered, so he's got one foot in front of the other, but then also you've got the piece of plastic at the back. In fact, the button isn't hidden. I'm just an idiot. So if you fasten that back together, I'm pressing the back of it like the button's there, but it's not. It's actually on the base of the jetpack, so the button's just there. So you can hold it at the bottom, and you press that, and that's how they spring out. So that's really cool. And then again, sculpted details there. There's not as much going on this one as there is on sort of Boba Fett and Solo, but still pretty cool nonetheless. And then you've got this sort of like control rod. Yes, I was just about to say that. It is a bit like a just on the end there. You've got this sort of blaster cannon attached to it, which has this sort of like hydraulic pipe that attaches there just underneath the arm, so that allows you to pose the figure even while he's holding on to the blaster. And then on the other side, you've got this pincer arm, which I'm assuming is the crowd control element of the figure, where he's got this big yellow pincer, and again there is a bit of a button there on the back of the rod, which offers up crowd control action. So
that'll sort it out.
So if you've got any unscrupulous aliens, come here, you bugger. Get you.
Yeah, look, he's completely controlled.
That's it. Got you. You son of a bitch.
Take that, Sivrak.
There you go. Consider yourself crowd controlled. So yeah, the probably the dumbest feature of all the deluxe figures, because it doesn't quite serve the purpose on the box. Doesn't do what it says on the tin, but it's there nonetheless. And do you know what? It's really cool. I like it. The Stormtrooper itself, it can be removed from the jetpack, and it's not too different to the basic carded Stormtrooper. It's just got a little bit of, like Jesse said, that speckled weathering on it, which I really like. Actually, it looks really cool. And then there's a hole on the back to accommodate the jetpack. But other than that, it's almost identical to the regular release. The weathering is really subtle on it, so it doesn't show up too well on camera. But it is, like I said, it just offers a nice variation on the Stormtrooper that you may have already added to your collection if you're a Power of the Force collector. So yeah, it's a really cool figure. I think after Boba Fett, it's my favourite from the Deluxe line, just because of how goofy it is. And I'm a sucker for those Power of the Force Stormtroopers as well. I just think there's a really nice dated charm to them. And yeah, it's just a really cool addition to the line. And another Kenner creation as well, nothing we've seen in the movies, which just offers up that playability and that value for money aspect, which I'm a huge advocate for when it comes to the deluxe figures. So there we go. That's the crowd control Stormtrooper. Standard articulation as well, I should mention. Swivel head, shoulders, and hips, and a swivel at the waist as well.
I dig that one. That one's cool.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely one. It's my favourite. I think after Boba Fett, it's definitely the better one of the line. So, Dan, that's the brings us to the final deluxe figure review.
Okay. Leaving the best till last, because this was actually the figure itself was my pick of top Power of the Force figure. It is none other than Luke with the Desert Sand Sports Skiff, of which is such a really classic kind of sci-fi vehicle. I don't know. I kind of get that. I kind of get like that 80s, kind of 70s, 80s vibe of Flash Gordon, where they've got them weird little vehicles that are just like a little surfboard. So you've got this little control panel that he's stood on. You've got foot pegs as well, actually. So he just pegs into that. And obviously can hold on to the control sticks and fly around on his little desert sports skiff. You know, like that. But there's... Oh, spoiler alert. It's a little bit temperamental, but if you press the button on the back here, push that in, it'll actually bring these cannons out, and you actually have to fit these cannons, or if you didn't want, you can take those off. They are removable. They're a little bit stuck in. So you can take those off and just have it as a sports skiff, or if you wanted him to mod it up as a weaponized thing, then you can do that. But he's got that, and then also in terms of talking about concealed, again, firing missiles, you're like, oh, it doesn't have a firing missile, does it? Oh, yes, it does. You press this button at the top here, boom, and again, it's grey. It's not coloured. It's not a vibrant colour to warn people. You know, this is a little missile that's going to get you. So yeah. It's just, and again, you've got that lovely speckled grey. Mm. I love the paint application on the actual skiff itself, with that sort of orangey red. And then you got stickers put onto the wings, and at the bottom you've got these already pre-molded stands. It's like just a nice
like Steve was saying before. Steve was saying before, if vehicles weren't in the budget, you know, this is a good alternative to the T16. Yeah, it's a Tatooine sort of base thing. If you've got the,
that's where my headcanon goes. Is that I imagine this has been a sort of pre-A New Hope Luke, and it's I imagine Biggs and Fixer and Luke racing these through Beggars Canyon, and
that's cool.
You know, just getting up to mischief.
And you know what's a testament to this toy is the fact that they re-released it.
Yes.
In the Clone Wars line with Anakin, and that tells you everything because it's still held up. I love this thing. It's pretty compact. The Luke is interesting in terms of if we talk about it as a figure, because it's, you look on face value, it's just a repack of, you know, that Luke, but there's some differentiations in terms of the paint application and colours they've used on the legs.
Yeah, he's got no pants on,
and the belt as well, slightly different. But if you look at the back of him, why has he got a big gaping hole?
That's the thing that always puzzled me about this one, and I always wondered, was it to make it so that you could... Yes. Does it work? Oh, wow.
So, if you wanted to go even more ridiculous, super speedy smuggling service.
That's a game changer.
Hold on, lads. There we go. Right.
That is amazing.
How dumb is that?
I love it.
And then, right, boom, boom, and then, boom. Come on, then. You want some? I'll give it you. It's
that is brilliant. That is absolutely superb. That is just peak 90s,
So yeah,
isn't it?
That's pure gold.
That's incredible.
I love the fact that you can do that. He's borrowed Han's flight smuggling gear, and he's just getting away on his little speeder.
I do what he does, but faster.
Incredible. I think you definitely did save the best till the last, Dan, because that's made me want to get a duplicate Han and Luke to do that and have that on the shelf. That is unreal.
You know,
mind blown.
Smuggling smile.
Power Rangers, Power of the Force, Megazord, Ultimate.
Oh man, Ultimate Luke.
Yeah,
that's the definitive Luke Skywalker right there, isn't it?
Absolutely is. Just how good is that? And again, testament because they re-released it.
Yeah, I love that when they did re-release it as well in the Clone Wars, and they went the extra mile to give Anakin that poncho and the goggles and the breathing apparatus and stuff to prevent the sand. They didn't give that same thought and consideration to Luke. They're just like, no, you're going to get sand in your eyes, mate. Love
Povo.
it.
He's Povo.
That's amazing. That's amazing. We are almost 2.5 hours in, gents. So, do you guys want to take a short break just to refresh before we come back and talk about some unproduced Power of the Force goodness, or are you all good to power through? What do you want to do?
I'm good to power through.
I can do it. Yeah.
Let's do it then.
Power of the Force through.
Power of the Force through. all the puns. So just again throwing it back to some nostalgia and to segue into our next portion of the stream, we're going to throw it to another commercial. We're going to take another trip down memory lane, and just in keeping with that deluxe theme, because Kenner did put out some really cool larger sets back in the 90s, and one of those was the Power FX line, which brought to the table electronics and lights and sounds.
Kenner puts more power than ever in the power of the Force, with all new Power FX figures with electronic movie lights and sounds. Blaze across Tatooine with Power FX R2-D2. Control his secret mission, along with his droid lights and sounds. And only Kenner brings you the real movie lights and action of Power FX Darth Vader and Power FX Luke Skywalker. Join them as their lightsabers glow, their destiny in your hands, in this ultimate battle of good versus evil. Nobody does Star Wars like the power of the Force.
Lord Vader would like to try that again.
New Power FX figures, each sold separately. From Kenner.
And that's another subline that, I mean, I could dedicate another entire stream just to those electronic figures, because I've got a lot of love for those. But yeah, I mean, Jesse, for you especially, I know that you did a Power of the Force Friday video on the Ben and Vader set.
Yeah,
that's another one of those figures that you've had since being a nipper, isn't
very
it?
young, yeah.
So,
yeah.
So and I love that idea of connecting those sets and having those figures being able to face off and stuff like that. Like, do you remember playing with those when you were a kid and recreating those duels? Because they're just the playability was definitely there with those figures, weren't they? I mean, you can see them in your. We'll just throw it back to your collection display. Like there they are up at the back.
There. It's like, even as a kid, like I would display all my action figures along my desk, and that was the centerpiece. Like all my other figures sort of stood to the side of that as a kid, and having Vader and Obi-Wan dueling in the middle, and doing some research before I did my my Power of the Force Friday video. It was about a month ago, so it's not too hard to find if you want to go back and have a look. The reason Ben was given the green lightsaber is because blue LED lights were too expensive in the 90s. They hadn't quite developed them to that point where it was as affordable as your reds and your greens, so they stuck with the green. But even on the packaging, it's got Obi-Wan with the blue blade. I always found that confusing back then, but it took me another 30 years and a bit of research to find out why. But yeah, just the features as a kid, that sort of blew my mind, being able to make them sort of walk back and forth and hit the blades, and they did take a couple of tumbles and broke a couple of times, and those lightsabers have been glued on. Batteries have all died now. They lasted a long time, those little batteries. They're sets that I remember getting those two together the Vader and the Ben Kenobi, and being able to cut out the background of the Falcon, and just having that all together as a centerpiece in my collection when I was 8 or 9 years old was just awesome. And yeah, still to this day, I never got around to getting the Luke or the R2, but they're on the list. They're on the list.
Yeah, I mean, this is another subline of Power of the Force figures that I've been able to complete. I've been lucky enough to finish off that set. And the R2, I mean, you talk about battery life. The batteries in the Saber figures seem to die out fairly quickly, but I don't know what batteries are in the R2. But I picked that one up, mint in box, maybe a year or two ago. And I've never changed the batteries. The batteries have obviously never been changed because the figure was brand new in box when I bought it.
Still in the box, yeah.
And it still works. 30 years later, those batteries, you press that R2 and he still beeps and whistles, and I love that little Tatooine set piece that he comes with the cliff face behind him. He's got the magnet in the base.
They used to.
They really don't. They really don't. The amount of effort and stuff that they poured into these figures is just unmatched. And yeah, it's such a quality figure, that R2D2. Like I said, even with the magnet in the base to move him around on it, and it's just a really like that's a cool centerpiece in and of itself for the collection as well. But then the Emperor came with similar sort of base to Ben and Luke and Vader. But then you've got the Death Star window as a backdrop for him, and they're just such fun little set pieces. And like I said, again, if you couldn't afford back in the day an Endor bunker and some of the larger play sets, then stuff like that offered you extra playability at a reduced cost. And that's one of the things that I'd still hold a lot of love for Power of the Force 2 for. So yeah, excellent figures. Dan, did you pick up any of the electronic stuff, or still on your list?
It's I'm trying to tackle the figures first, like the individual figures. But I think those ones are ones that I'm going to get at some point. I'm not too sure when, but definitely the Vader and the Obi-Wan, just because I think that's such a cool display, scene that you can do. And the R2 as well, that's pretty neat, because I feel like I could display a lot of figures with that. As a nice little centerpiece.
The good thing with R2 is that it's got room on the display stand for a couple of Jawas and stuff.
Yes.
There's a peg for 3PO to stand behind him, and it offers a lot of playability, a lot of display value.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool little subline. But just on that note, as we alluded to earlier at the start of the stream, if you were watching then, there is a website out there that I want to give a shout out to, prototypearchives.com, which was only brought to my attention recently when doing a little bit more research into Power of the Force 2. Because I must admit, I don't really tend to dabble in prototypes, but I love to see unproduced figures. I love to see what could have been. And as I was doing a deeper dive into the Power of the Force, and obviously with the Deluxe stuff and all that sort of thing, on the subject of Force Effect or Power Effects, I came across a couple of unproduced concepts for the line, and I just thought they were so interesting and needed just a little bit of discussion, because, like I said, it's a case of what could have been. And this is one of the unproduced Power Effects figures that we never got, and it's Leia with the trash chute. And I think this is such a really cool concept. I think the electronic aspect of this figure would have been in the blaster. It had a battery pack, similar to the other figures in the line, in her actual back, and then the end of it up, and then there would have been some sort of action feature, I imagine, with the trash chute itself. But what's really cool about this concept and this unproduced toy is the fact that it could have been paired with the vintage trash compactor that came as part of that larger Death Star playset.
Yeah.
Now, according to Prototype Archives, they're not sure whether or not there was any plan to re-release that as a separate piece to add that together. But it just goes back to what we were talking about those playsets, guys, like with the Detention Block Rescue. Like, can you imagine this as sort of a larger set and just the idea of
almost got the same sort of, that sort of shape with the slope sort of wall. Like if you were to butt that up next to that, your display that you've got there, like that'd just make that hallway a little bit longer. That'd be cool.
yeah, that's what I mean. I love that idea of having that modular. It almost plays into the whole modular Death Star playset that we're all clamoring for at this point in the modern line, and it's just it's fascinating to me just to see stuff like this. And again, like you were saying, Jesse, where you could cut out the card back on Ben and Vader, and you had the Falcon in the Death Star backdrop to place behind the figures. It looks like with this one, you'd have the continuation of that corridor with the stormtroopers and the smoke and stuff. I just think I think this is a really strong concept, and it's such a shame that this never made it to the line. I think this would have been a really, really cool little display piece.
Yeah, I think it's more stuff like this that I wish we got to see. Particularly because it's always nice to have your figures displayed on something a bit tangible, like a scene. Like that's why I think I really like the cinema scene figures. Actually, getting this one recently, like even though it's as basic as like a little display stand that they come on and a piece of card, effectively for the backdrop. It's nice to have something that just sets your figures off a little bit more in that universe, rather than just your shelf. I think this was really, really cool. The idea that it could fit onto, like the fact that they were thinking of how they could build onto pre-existing toys that were made back in the day was just a really cool bit of innovation. Would have been interesting to see if they'd actually re-release that additional toy to go with it. I mean, maybe that was the point that made them kind of swerve that idea. But yeah, I really like this. I really like it. Electronics are always a fun gimmick.
Yeah, I think it's one of the things that's often overlooked about the Power of the Force 2 line as well, is the fact that they did reuse so much of the original Kenner stuff from back in the day. Like the speeder bikes were just given a bit of a makeover, and then the Falcon and the X-Wing were modified in such a way that they almost felt brand new when they came out again in the 90s. And so, like, to recycle the trash compactor from that Death Star playset from back in the day would have been a genius move for collectors who'd been in the game since the start. But yeah, just to have that, like, that segment of a part of the environment is something that I do really love about Power of the Force. It's like, that's why I love the detention block playset so much. It's why I love the Endor bunker. There was another unproduced concept as well, which was the Stormtrooper. That had it was just a simple wall and a door at the end, and I think the Stormtrooper, to hide the batteries, had the Sandtrooper backpack, and then again the blaster just lit up, and the door would be spring loaded, so you could sort of recreate to an extent that scene from A New Hope when the troopers burst through the door. I just love that playability. And the fact that they were just such fun toys. And further to that as well, another unproduced FX figure that never saw light of day, sadly, and I think this would have been superb, is Chewie from Bespin, and he's got 3PO in his back. Again, I think it's probably one of those figures that was unproduced because the only electronic aspect of it was the blaster lit up. And as such, it didn't really serve much of a purpose. At least with Vader and Ben and Luke and the Emperor, they could interact with one another, whereas with this one, you didn't really have anything to interact with it. But just the fact that they were floating around that idea of disassembling 3PO and placing him in a net on Chewie's back. I mean, I'm guessing that's where the batteries would have been held, and that's a static piece on his back there, but.
Yeah, you can almost see that groove, at least on the right side picture there, where almost like a cardboard slot would almost slide in for a backdrop. So I wonder whether there were plans to do another side to this thing, like maybe so that doorway would flip around or something, and you'd have, maybe Chewie and Lando or something, maybe on another side or layer even, just to sort of build that scene a little bit more.
Yeah, or a large, like you say, a larger Cloud City display, like a Power FX Boba Fett may have been a good contender because he'd have had the jetpack that you could have hid the batteries in. So
Yeah.
that was pre-made, ready and raring to go for this line, really. So yeah, it's just fun to contemplate what could have been and what never made it to shelves. And again, as we continue to look at some unproduced stuff, Jesse, I know you've got to hand the gunner the Darth Vader gunner station, which was another subline of toys, but again, it falls into that deluxe sort of category.
It's extremely yellowed. Like I've bought this secondhand. So yeah, you can sort of see it's been sitting in a shop window or something for a certain period of time. I did have the Luke Skywalker gunner station from the Falcon when I was a kid, and my best friend at the time had the Han Solo. So we used to connect them together. But this is Darth Vader. He has hinges in the knees. If I get him out, he's got the soft cape and hinges in the knees, and he's still sort of
buff daddy.
Still sort of pretty solid and buff, but it worked all right, and it was one of those early figures where they were trying that extra little bit of articulation, and it does. He fits in there. Choo-choo.
It's cool again because it goes back to what we were saying earlier about the fact that if vehicles were out of your budget, like at least that just still gives you that option to play around with a part of the vehicle, and some may see that and think, oh, that's so cheap, like just offering up a portion of the cockpit, but at the same time it's almost ingenious. And the gunner stations are another subline. I've yet to pick any up, to be honest. I had way back in the day the Luke Millennium Falcon gunner station, but never got any of the others. So that's probably another one to add to the list at some point. But it's a line that they did entertain continuing, and as such, and I think this will speak to you, Dan, because this was part of your original trilogy wish list, and we actually even talked about this as a concept before we were even made aware that it was something that they were toying with the idea of bringing to the line. But a Death Star gunner with a Death Star cannon,
this would have been awesome.
This makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Like, that's just like on face value, that's just such a cool toy to me. And I love, like I said, we talked about this on the original trilogy wish list, but I love that. I like to think at least that Lego drew a little bit of inspiration from this to create one of their sets from 2014.
Yeah.
To have that in action figure form would have been so cool. And again, it's just that little extra bit of playability. I mean, as a standalone piece, yeah, sure, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but having this going up against your smuggler backpack Han or your X-Wings or your speeder bikes or whatever, it's just fleshing out those displays and adding larger accessories to it. It's something that we don't really see enough of, and to me, this is world building because it's just so fun.
It also sort of incentivizes a bit of army building, because if you get another Death Star gunner with that, you kind of got his buddy to help him. Like, just, I don't know.
And if that's like an electronic version too, and you get that sort of that laser cannon like flashing green, like if you're playing with that in a dark room as a kid, like that's just the coolest shit ever.
Yeah.
Or maybe as a 37-year-old man, it'd be cool.
Like, absolutely.
It would. No judgment here. No, I'd have loved to have seen this. I think this is the most bittersweet of the three, because it's like this actually would make sense from a functionality and practicality standpoint, and it'd have been really cool to see.
Even on display as well within your collection.
Yeah,
just
that's what I mean. Like,
awesome.
You've got the little seat there for the gunner, the added articulation in the knees, because that's one of the things as well that often gets bypassed, is the fact that articulated limbs at this stage of the game was groundbreaking stuff. You know, I remember doing the side quest stream with you, Dan, and talking about the Darth Vader with the removable helmet, and the fact that he had a swivel at the elbow was such a groundbreaking thing at the time. It was like, whoa, what? An extra articulation point? My God. But it's just so, it's one of those things. It's just like, I've got so much nostalgia for that, and seeing those innovations, and it's just, Power of the Force is just such a tangible way of seeing that progression of the line. It's not something that you see these days, where you can see those innovations being made. You do with it, to a degree, with Black Series, like with the photo reel and all that sort of stuff. But from a solely toy engineering standpoint, like, this is the most tangible way of seeing that evolution of the toys themselves, and I absolutely love it. I really do. But yeah, it's just so cool to go back and look at what could have been. And I think probably to round out the stream, really, and this segment of our Power of the Force 2 celebration, it feels topical, given some of the characters that we've had in the Black Series recently, and it's another one of those that is just, to have had this brought to life in plastic would have been absolutely incredible. To have this going up against Slave One, to have this go up against the Outrider, would have been incredible. And there it is.
That's bittersweet, isn't it? That's bittersweet.
I think what makes it harder is the fact that, thanks once again to Prototype Archives, we know that packaging was conceived for this. We got a 3D foam model to show how it would have looked, and it just never got past. Never got past pre-production. But it is Shizo's Virago from Shadows of the Empire, and I just feel like I had a model kit of this back in the day.
Yeah, they did that, didn't they?
Yeah, and because this vehicle never got made, that model kit used to sit with my 3 3/4 inch figures. I used to play with that like a vehicle, and I always used to think to myself, imagine if we had this as an actual toy, because I always felt a little bit unsafe playing with the model kit because it was so fragile. But this is a 3 3/4 inch vehicle. Hasbro, if you're listening, Papa, please, like, come on.
Especially with a display stand like that, just how cool would it look?
It's such a cool concept. See, Shizo approves. It's such a cool design. It would have made such a fun toy, to be honest. Really sad that this never got made. This would have been incredible.
Yeah. I think as well, in terms of the vehicles that they did for Power of the Force 2 were just amazing. Like, you think about the Slave 1, the Outrider.
I was about to say Outrider, yeah.
Outrider's just, and that's, you can tell the popularity with that on the aftermarket, because you can't find one cheap at all anymore. Just amazing. This would have been amazing.
Yeah, it really would, and it'd have just tied that entire collection of Shadows of the Empire stuff together so well.
Yeah,
just rounded it off nicely. I mean, you can look at this, and you know, it's difficult to look past the foam model that we got as sort of a pre-production thing. But looking at that image that I'm guessing probably would have been used for the packaging, like, you can just picture swivel cannons firing missiles, retractable landing gear, folding wings. What a beauty this would have been.
Would have been amazing.
It really would. It really would. What could have been. What could have been. But yeah, that's, like I said, I just wanted to, because that's something that never really seems to get touched upon when people talk about action figure lines, is the stuff that never made light of day. And it's cool to go back and look at what could have been and what could have been in our collections if things had have taken a different path. And, you know, you go, again, head over to Prototype Archives, because there's some really cool stuff over there. You get to see packaging variations and stuff like that. I mean, the fact that Comtech was proposed and pitched as a concept a lot earlier on in the line than it
Yeah.
actually made its debut, and then like to see some of the options that could have been for that, like, you know, to see some of those original trilogy characters get the dialogue and stuff, and even sort of lesser appreciated concepts like the Millennium minted coins that came in the presentation box sets with display stands, to see that those were once pitched as being included on basic cards. Like, it's just fun to look and think, oh god, imagine if that had have made its way into somebody's collection. That'd have been so cool. Just a lot of love for this line. It's underappreciated, it's undervalued, and I'd like to think that this little celebration that we've put together of the line that, like I said at the start of the stream, kicked things off for us three at least.
I would love to get a copy of that poster. I know they're so scarce and limited out there. Like,
Yeah.
it's almost like, we could pile together a good group of high-res photos and redo it for a modern era.
Yeah, I think Steve Evans, if he's listening, would be the ideal candidate to put one of these together, given the checklist posters and stuff that he does. A recreation of this would be absolutely incredible. But yeah, there's just some incredible figures released from this line. Tons of memories, tons of stories, and like I said, it's afforded us the opportunity to go back and rebuild. And just before we wrap up, we'll go through it once again. We'll take a look at those collections that we've put together in case you missed them earlier on in the stream. So this is Dan's collection of Power of the Force 2 figures. And I think the one thing that speaks to these displays is you can tell that they're a labour of love. And there's a lot of appreciation there for these figures. Just beautiful stuff. And like we said, some of those sculpts still holding up today.
They're a historical document. They may not be as important to, the older generation, the first generation of action figure collectors, but they're equally as important to people like us who grew up with them. So.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's going back to the whole how they've improved over the time and course of them being out. You don't really see that in toy lines these days, other than sort of aesthetic, paint application, head sculpts, things like that. But actual design, in terms of just a great toy line. And set the precedent, I would say, for figures now. Yeah, for sure,
absolutely. And even going back to like the packaging as well, just the identity and the unique designs for the cards that we got all the way back when. It's not something that we see much of these days, and it's just such a classic look. I'd argue that this is right up there with the vintage stuff for me in terms of iconography. It's just so iconic.
And there's a little bit for everyone. It's, not just kids for toy as a toy, but you've got stuff that really does display well. Like, those the globes with the characters, the cinema scenes. They're all great. It's a great variety for every collector and their purpose.
Yeah, it serves everyone. Like I said, I think that's one of the things that gets overlooked about Power of the Force is that it was, even though you had the good and you had the bad and you had the downright goofy, but one thing that's got to be said is the fact that Power of the Force 2 was, for all intents and purposes, a collector-focused line. Yeah. So. Yeah, definitely undervalued and underappreciated, and I'm glad that it seems like with some of the content I've seen being put out on Instagram and YouTube and stuff. I mean, Toy Geeks have been covering the Power of the Force line recently in some of their videos. The love is coming back for it, and I think it's aging like a fine wine now. I remember like 10 or 12 years ago, people would have turned their nose up at Power of the Force 2 and thought, why are you going back and collecting those? But now there's a new love and a new appreciation for it, and I'm here for it. and I'm happy to be a part of it. And I'm glad that you guys are on board as well. It's been fun sharing this journey with you, and putting these collections together. That's what I've really enjoyed. Like, just reaching out to you guys and saying, oh, which figures have you been picking up, and or what, how are you putting the displays together, and sharing ideas. And it's just what collecting's all about, and it's just reignited that passion for me. And it's been a blast. And thank you for indulging me and joining me for this celebration of a line that I just love so much. It's been a lot of fun.
Wouldn't have missed it. Would not have missed it.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So that concludes our Power of the Force 2 celebration, deluxe figure focus, collection presentation. I've had a blast. It's been so fun talking about these toys with you guys. It's been fab. Any closing thoughts on Power of the Force? Anything you want to you want to share? Any Power of the Force Friday videos coming, Jesse? Anything we can look forward to?
Oh yeah.
So I mean, every Friday I'm back on the wagon after taking a little bit of a break. I'm hoping this week I'll get some of those deluxe ones, so I'll start having a good look at some of those deluxe ones as they come in. But I do have a good stack of card backs here for figures that I haven't done over the years. So I've got a good solid list of figures to keep me going for a good long while. And at the same time, still trying to hunt some holes in the collection and try and get some goodies, trying to fill some gaps. So
awesome.
Jump over and check it out.
Will do. I'll post-production. I'll stick some links in the video description so you can go out and check out. So I'm guessing you've put a playlist together for Power of the Force Friday.
Yeah, I've got one on my channel, and
awesome. I'll get a link shared in the video description for that, so you can all go and check it out. Dan, what about you? Any Power of the Force content to look forward to, or content in general?
Oh, I've got lots of content coming. I've been working. I've been cooking in the kitchen. It's all coming out May the 4th, though.
We're here for it, mate. It's got to be done.
Yeah, there's 3 videos coming out on May the 4th. You will see a bit of Power of the Force action in my collection update, which has been long overdue. I need to start working on that today, which is going to take a bit of work, add a bit of lighting, and all that good tutorial stuff. But yeah, we've got that coming on May the 4th. We've got a mystery review of an item that is in frame, but I'm not going to point it out. And then to top off May the 4th, we've got a cute little video I've put together. If you have ever seen BBC bedtime stories, Tom Hardy, eat your heart out, because I'm coming for you with a little reading of Chewbacca and the Porgs. So you've got that to look forward to.
Yes.
He's targeting the yummy mummy demographic, I think, aren't you, Dan?
When in Rome. So yeah.
Awesome stuff. Looking forward to it, mate. Well, if I don't speak to you before, Jesse, have a fantastic Star Wars day.
And yourselves too.
Thank you for joining us and getting up
Absolutely
nice and early with us to talk all things Power of the Force 2. We'll be back at some point in the next month or so. Myself, Dan, and James, RoboCliff Collects, will be getting together post May the 4th for a Star Wars convention recap. We'll be joined by Nez from Nezflix and the Star Wars Fan Fun Day. He's currently over in Japan at Celebration, so he'll be sharing all his experiences from that event. And then, obviously, as we alluded to last night, myself, Dan, and James are all off to Liverpool Comic Con, and then the Star Wars Fan Fun Day over the course of May the 4th weekend, where we'll be offering up some swag and some merch and just having a bloody good time. And like I said, we'll be getting together again after those events to do a little bit of a recap and to share our experiences. So please do check that out. I'm hopefully going to put some May the 4th content together myself. So, yeah, stick around. And thank you for joining us. Until next time, thank you for watching. Keep collecting. And may the power of the Force be with you.